big fish. We the ones that you wanna get with. Took a couple L's, rung a couple bells. Real ones, too legit for coin telling. Straight shooters, all troopers. Me and the guys ain't never been losers. See a nice little thing. Make sure that as y'all are joining, y'all like, subscribe for the algorithm. We got a great show planned for y'all today. We own it. Y'all that's it. Big difference. That's worthless, yes. Got to smell good. What we rocking with? I'm on my Kev Samuels today. Rocking. Gotta make sure that we smelling good, man. With your mind frame, you go hard from the jump. I'm messing up my own words. Big fish, we the ones that you wanna get with. Took a couple L's, rung a couple bells. Real ones, too legit for coin teller. Straight shooters, all troopers. Me and the guys ain't never been losers. See a nice little thing, we pursue her. See a nice little thing, we pursue her. Yeah. Welcome. So today, big fish, OG, big fish, OG, big fish. All right, welcome. We got a nice little lineup for y'all today. So we're really going to focus on three main things today. And as you are joining, whether you're live or you're tapping in later, please make sure that you like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It's going to help the algorithm. Y'all know what we do here. Our goal is to get as many different perspectives in the room as possible. So that way we can grow, we can learn from each other's experiences. That's what we're here for. So let's make sure that we're doing that. Let me make sure that I got everything situated for y'all over here. I kind of like that. You see what you can do with lighting? Look at that. It showed a little, it's all about the branding, right? That's why I got the Mountain Valley. All right, we good. Let me get focused. Let me focus up. So like I said, we're going to focus on three things today. Candace Owens and Nick Cannon, they finally put up their last part of their interview. Very, very smart on Nick Cannon strategically. I believe Candace just did a couple interviews with Stephen A. Smith, and then I'm forgetting the other person that she did it with. Maybe Theo Von. No, not Theo Von. I don't know. She just did one with Andrew Tate too, but I think she was featured on somebody's recently. So she's in the news. So therefore, I get what Nick Cannon's doing. Maybe he was a little nervous to put the rest of it up before. Maybe he was getting too much backlash, or he didn't like the things that were being said in the comments. Either way, we're going to tap into a little bit of that. We probably won't get through the entire interview. Matter of fact, we definitely won't get through the entire interview, that last part. But then we're going to talk about tariffs. Tariffs are going to be the main focus of today's conversation. And then we also have Gabrielle Union and her backpedaling on her 50-50 relationship. So I know we had talked mostly about relationships. I don't know if Mir's going to tune in. He said he had some updates, but we're going to save that for later on. Like I said, the main focus today is going to be on the tariffs. Then we're also going to obviously go through Nick Cannon, Candace Owens, and then talk a little bit relationships with Gabrielle Union. But with the Gabrielle Union, I want y'all to stay tuned because we may end up doing that one last, but I think it's a good conversation to have, and you may be surprised with my thoughts on what she's saying. So what do we have to start? Let me see. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm not even keeping up with the chat. Yeah, Theo Von. All right. So Ev, shout out to Ev in the building. So it was Theo Von. All right. Let me put my good evening, good people. All right. So the reason why, hold on one second, actually. Let me open up this other window and close these other windows so we're not getting messed up. All right. Hold on one second. Y'all really want to know what I'm doing? Do y'all really want to know what I'm doing? All right. So what I'm doing right now is I'm opening up my other window to show, but I'm not doing it for the view, even though why not, right? But I'm actually doing it I'm doing it for the view, but also mainly just so I can always look at it and make sure that I'm not skipping and you guys can see me and hear me, because y'all know I'm infamous for pressing that mute button. So I want y'all to start off with this video that I watched. It was a video that I needed to watch because I was not familiar with the tariffs. I just feel like I didn't have a good understanding of it. When I listen to this side, they tell me one thing. When I listen to that side, they tell me one thing. And it seems like everybody's giving their opinion on the tariffs. Notice I said opinion. They're giving their opinions on the tariffs based on what suits their individual interest. So obviously, when I hear from the Democrats, they're critiquing the tariffs. When I hear from the Republicans, they're mostly just going along with whatever Trump says. And then when I hear from this business owner, they're saying what's best for their business owner. When I hear from this stock person, they're just talking about how it impacts the stocks, but nobody's really giving a comprehensive understanding of what exactly these tariffs are. So what ends up happening, I don't know if it's happening in y'all conversations, but what ends up happening in a lot of my conversations and what I'm seeing is that people are arguing without understanding all the facts. So it took me a while to find a video that I thought would be best to share with y'all. And the reason why it took me a while is because of what I just shared with you guys, as far as everybody was giving, every time I look at a video, they were giving a biased opinion of what exactly the tariffs were. So I found a good video for you guys. I'm going to pull it up. We'll go through it. It's a little bit long and it may be a little bit, it wasn't boring to me. A little bit of a different style of video that we typically watch, but I want you guys to really focus on it and pay attention to it because I think it'll give us the understanding that we need to have more intelligent conversations on it. So let me share that with you guys. Boom. Make that screen big and we shall go through it. All right, make sure. Y'all know I like that way. All right, boom. Let's get through it. And maybe, I don't know if you guys are feeling really bold, you could write in the chat what your current perception of the tariffs are. You don't have to, but if you're feeling really bold, go for it. All right, so let's get into the video and we will comment along the way just to make sure that we have a good understanding.
In today's video, we are covering what are the Trump tariffs, what are tariffs inflationary, and will the Trump tariffs actually pass? First, I want to show you some video clips of Trump. So if you didn't know, Trump is a huge fan of tariffs. So I want to show you these clips so that we're on the same page.
But to me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff, and it's my favorite word.
But it's the most beautiful word in the dictionary, tariff. It will save our country. Only stupid people don't want to use it, or corrupt people also.
Okay, so it's clear, I mean, it's no secret that Trump is a big fan of tariffs. And Trump has floated the idea of imposing a 10% tariff on all foreign imports. So I want to show you.
Well, let me ask you what you're thinking here. Would you want tariffs on foreign goods coming into the U.S., take those revenues and cut taxes on American goods and American families here? Would that be something in a second Trump term?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Number one, I think we should have a ring around the collar, as they say. I think when companies come in and they dump their products in the United States, they should pay automatically, let's say, a 10% tax. That money would be used to pay off debt. It's a massive amount of money, even at 10%. It's not going to stop business because it's not that much, but it's enough that would really make a lot of money.
Okay, now let me explain to you what a tariff is. So I'm going to give you the definition and then I'm going to break it down for you with an example. A tariff is a tax that is imposed on goods imported from another country. So let's use Toyota cars as an example. So let's say that a Toyota Camry costs $30,000 and it's made outside of America. If there's a 10% import tariff, then there's a $3,000 tax if you want to bring the Toyota Camry into the US to sell it. So the purpose of a tariff is to make foreign products more expensive. If foreign products are more expensive, then the idea is that US consumers will be more likely to buy products that are made in America.
All right, so and I'm glad that you checked him out, Ev. That was my first time. This is my first time seeing him. So I'm glad that you have a good I'm glad that he has a good reputation based on you seeing his videos since the pandemic. But one thing that he just said, I do disagree with when he says the purpose of a tariff is to make foreign products more expensive. I do not think that that's the only purpose, if that is a purpose, but the purpose is for the country to make money. So the purpose is not necessarily to make the product more expensive. And I think a lot of us get confused by this as to say that everything that gets a tariff is going to make a product more expensive. Now, you may be looking at me a little crazy right now, but trust me, I'll explain more as the video goes on. But the purpose of the tariff, when the United States charges a tariff on, let's say, a foreign company sending their products here, it's for the government to use that money to collect and put it towards debt, as Trump said, or put it towards whatever else. Now, you would think that if, let's say, they're charging Toyota, I think he gave the example of Toyota. If Toyota has to pay an extra tariff to bring their products here, it is going to be more expensive for Toyota, but the government's going to collect, let's say, that 10%, and that can go towards whatever else. So hopefully we would want the government to take that 10% and use it to either save the citizens money, save us money on taxes, or maybe to be able to use towards something else that they may need to spend money on, where in other cases they would have to print more money. So instead of, let's say, printing $100 billion, let's say if that's 10%, I'm just throwing that number out there. Instead of printing $100 billion more, they would be able to take that $100 billion from another country based on their products, or another company who's outside the United States bringing in their products. So therefore, not printing that $100 billion would not create the inflation that printing it would. You get what I'm saying? It's almost like that's what makes Bitcoin so valuable. The fact that they're not printing, or they're not making any more. Every time the United States of America, our government prints more money, it decreases the value of the dollars because there's more out there. Hopefully that makes sense.
Because American products would be cheaper because they wouldn't be subject to the tax. It also incentivizes foreign companies to invest in America to make their products in America. So this includes building infrastructure in America and creating jobs in America. So let me show you this video clip. This is of Charlie Kirk to help explain.
All right, so real quick, what he just said. If Toyota has to pay, or this was a famous thing with Trump, there was a John Deere video where John Deere was trying to take their factories to Mexico. So that means that they're taking jobs away from Americans. So if John Deere takes their factories to Mexico, they're going to have to pay a tariff. Now you're incentivizing John Deere by saying, hey, if you take your stuff to Mexico, you're going to have to pay a big tariff, bring it in here. So now you're incentivizing a John Deere, or you're incentivizing a Toyota to actually make the product and have their factories in America, which would be them hiring Americans for those jobs. So even if they're not, let's say a Toyota is not an American company, obviously John Deere is, but even if it's not an American company, they would still have to hire American workers. So they would still be giving some of their money to American workers, rather than them not giving those Americans jobs and just taking whatever profits they have and bringing them back to their country.
The positive impact of a tariff.
Here's how it really works. Let's just take, and we've done this in the past, let's take a company like Toyota. So Toyota is a Japanese car manufacturer, right? And Lyndon Baines Johnson back in the 1960s said, we're going to do a 25% tariff on all pickup trucks. Now, how do you avoid a tariff? It's not a trick question. You avoid a tariff by making the product in America. No tariff. So Toyota, what they do to get around the pickup truck tariff, which by the way, they're huge. You guys have seen Toyota pickup trucks. They're everywhere. They make all their pickup trucks in America. So what it is, it's a forcing function to re-domicile labor back to the United States. Not necessarily to just slap a tariff on top of goods coming in.
So there you have it. The people that support tariffs will say, you impose a tariff to promote domestic production. It will create jobs in America and boost the economy, and the US government will collect more tax revenue. So those are the theoretical benefits. However, there is a cost, and that cost is inflation. So the right question to ask is, do the pros outweigh the cons? Now, let's talk about the cost, and let's not make this complicated. It's actually very straightforward. So let's start with this. Do you know what a competitive advantage is. A competitive advantage is a quality or a factor that gives you an edge over your competitors. So let me demonstrate with an easy example. So let me ask you, is it more cost effective to generate solar energy in California or in Illinois? So it's not a trick question, just use common sense. The correct answer is California. You know why? It's because California receives more direct sunlight and has less cloud cover compared to Illinois. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. California has a competitive advantage when it comes to solar energy generation. Now, when it comes to making products, some countries have competitive advantages when it comes to their manufacturing, resources, supply chains, and labor pool. So in many cases, it is just much cheaper to make certain products in different countries. Now, did you know that 97% of clothing that Americans purchase in the USA is not made in America? So just look at the tag on your shirt. There's a 97% chance that it's not made in America. Just look at your Nikes from Thailand. Your Vietnamese Lululemon outfits look great. So your clothes from Target made the pilgrimage from China. So you know why the USA imports 97% of our clothing? It's because it's cheaper to make clothing in Bangladesh, in India, and Vietnam compared to America. Employees in Bangladesh, they get paid $150 a month. So that's about 87 cents an hour. So how are Americans supposed to compete with that low-cost labor? If you put a 10% tariff on clothing, it would still be much cheaper to continue buying clothes from Bangladesh. So we're not going to have a clothing industry revival in the US. All that would happen is that the cost of 97% of our clothing would go up by 10%, and it would cause inflation. And do you know why it's cheaper to make clothes overseas?
I disagree with what he just said. He just said that the cost would go up 10%. He's not being clear. The cost to who? What a lot of people think, especially if you're more on the liberal side of this, is that, oh, the companies, let's say Target or let's say a Walmart, if they're importing a lot of their goods, right? They're importing a lot of their goods, so therefore they can sell them cheaper to their customers. If there's a 10% tariff now that is on everything that's imported, so all the stuff that Walmart imports, all the stuff that Target imports, which I believe is the majority of their stuff that they sell, that 10%, we just assume, because this has been what a lot of Democrats have been saying on their side of the argument, that that 10% would be charged to us as the consumers. No. What I would suggest is that 10%, let Target eat that 10%. Let Walmart eat that 10%. They make enough money off of Americans selling their products. And if you're looking at this as an overall big picture being good for America, to incentivize people to do more business, to have more factories, to create more jobs for Americans, then I would think that Walmart and Target, who have made a lot of money off of American citizens, that they would be okay eating the cost. But the problem is, most of these people that own companies, they don't want to position it like that. They don't want the consumer to understand that, oh, well, just because Target is being charged an extra 10%, that doesn't mean that they have to charge their consumers that extra 10%. Target would just have a smaller margin of profit. It is what it is. But see, we'll boycott Target for other reasons. In my opinion, the wrong reasons. We'll boycott a lot of these other businesses. But what we should be applying pressure on these businesses that are like a Target and a Walmart is to say, hey, you're going to eat the cost of this 10% tariff. You're not going to put that on us. If you do put that on us, then we'll go to another store. So if Target puts it, let's say Target says, okay, hey, we're going to pass this 10% tariff on to our customers. Then we as customers should say, you know what, Target, if you do that, we'll go to Walmart. If Walmart says that they'll eat the cost. You get what I'm saying? So we have power as the consumers, and we shouldn't be naive to just think that, oh, just because this company, Target and Walmart, is being charged an extra 10%, that we should have to pay that. No, Let's put pressure on Walmart and Target to pay that 10% themselves, because we already understand that the tariffs are going to help us in a lot of ways, because it's going to incentivize companies to have more jobs here. It's going to incentivize more production to be done in America, which means obviously the more jobs, and it's going to give more money to our government, so therefore they won't have to print more money, which is going to cause inflation, and hopefully it can save in the amount of money that we have to pay for to our government in taxes. So let's keep going.
Inflation. And do you know why it's cheaper to make clothes overseas? It's not just a low cost of labor, it's a low cost of regulations as well. So just take a look at India.
And Eb just asked a good question. Is that what actually happens? Who cares if it's what actually happens? We as consumers put pressure based on who we shop with, right? So you have a decision. You don't have to buy a Toyota. Nobody's pressing you to shop at Target. We'll boycott Target for whatever reason Pastor Jamal Bryant comes up with. Why don't we use if we're, let's take a step back for the tariffs for a second. This is what happens. America, let's maybe look at it a different way. Do we understand why let's look at the black community, why the black community is so poor? It's because all of our dollars, as soon as we get them, we spend them with every single other community. America is what black people are in America is what America in a lot of ways is to the rest of the world. China isn't buying our products. We're buying everything from China, which is stimulating their economy, which is aiding their economy, but it's not helping us. The same way that when we do these boycotts by Al Sharpton and saying that, hey, we're only shopping from this store and this store. When we look at the black dollar compared to other people in America, other demographics, their dollars circulate in their communities a lot more than us. You compare the black community to Jewish communities. The Jewish community, they circulate their dollar within the community. When they get money, they spend it with other people in their community. You look at other Asian cultures. When they get money, they spend it within their Asian cultures. That's why they are more independent and less dependent on the government. So it's the same thing when it comes to our country. We don't want to just be spending money. As soon as we get money, we're sending that money to feed the Chinese economy, to feed the Indian economy, to feed the European economy, to feed Mexico's economy, to feed Canada's economy. We should want to recirculate that dollar within our country, because it's going to jumpstart. It's going to be a stimulant for our economy, which is going to make our dollar more valuable, not only in America, but throughout the country. So whether it's actually happening right now is irrelevant. There's a lot of things that aren't happening, that weren't happening, and that should be happening. But we have to put pressure through understanding and not be naive to say, oh, well, Target, they're just going to pass that cost on to us. Nah. Whoever passes that cost on to us, we won't shop with them. Whoever decides to eat the cost because they understand that this is going to be something that big picture, long term, is going to help our American economy, which is going to help the value of our dollar. Isn't that what everybody's concerned with? But we're so short term in our thinking that we just think that, oh, we could just put together one policy and that all the cost of our goods is going to go down and our economy is going to be great. We expect to eat BS food and not work out for 10 years and then just think that, oh, in a week, we're just going to be healthy. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Whether Trump says it works like that, whether whoever says it works like that, it doesn't work like that. It's not going to be a quick fix to a long-term problem. It's just not going to be. It's going to take an investment and reinvestments into our American economy. That's how I see it, but maybe I'm off. Let's keep going.
They can throw chemicals and dyes into the waterways or rivers. Just chuck the garbage into the waterways. It causes pollution, but it's cheaper. And they're more relaxed about clogged landfills as well. So they're not as strict as the US. So there's a reason why we as Americans prefer to import clothing. They can do it cheaper and we pay less. And clothing is just one example. Did you know that 70% of everything sold in Walmart is imported? So will tariffs be inflationary? The answer is yes. But
and you know what's so funny about this? 70% of everything sold in Walmart is imported. it's so funny because, and I hate to always relate it to the Black community, but it just tends to make things make a lot more sense. We will sit here and give credit to certain companies that carry certain Black products, right? Now everything that you buy, it's Black owned, it's woman owned. We see it on the labeling, right? Why do we take so much pride in that, but have no pride when it comes to our products that are actually being made outside the country, or I should say in America, compared to the ones that are made outside the country? Why don't we have that same level of pride? Are we not willing to pay more for American products? Are we not willing to pay more for an American product if we understand that that's also going to do something good for our economy? That's going to stimulate our economy. That's going to make the value of our dollar increase. That's going to create more jobs in America. What are our priorities? I guess maybe we should figure out what our priorities are and then figure it out from there. We should back into it, because if we're only concerned about paying the cheapest amount for products, then clearly we're going to be buying products from China. We're going to be buying products from all these other countries that can pay. What did this gentleman say a few minutes ago on this video? That can pay people $150 a month. Now, if we do that, we have to understand the cons that come with that. That's all money out, right? Shout out to Nipsey Hussle, all money in, right? That should be the goal, having all money in, everything reinvested, everything circulating back into the community, back into America. If we take all of the money that we make and we spend it in another economy outside the country, then we're stimulating that economy. Why do we think that we're so much in debt to where China is crushing us? Why do we think that we're so much in debt? It's because China doesn't rely on us to purchase. They don't purchase as much American products as Americans purchase Chinese products. That's why they're doing better than us. They understand the discipline that comes along with purchasing a product in your country, made by your country, because it's going to stimulate your economy.
So will tariffs be inflationary? The answer is yes. But again, the proper question to ask is,
and I want to be very clear, I disagree with that. I disagree with will tariffs be inflationary? Just from my standpoint, I don't understand exactly, but I'm still, it's okay for us to disagree. I think that they will be the opposite. I think that it will lead to the opposite, in my opinion.
Will the pros outweigh the cons? And Trump answers this question. He gives his opinion in this video clip that I want to show you.
Effect on the overall economy, and yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive in terms of the economy.
I agree. It's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Okay, now let's answer this question. Who pays the tariff? Is it the foreign country? Is it the consumer? Or is it the importer? So think of what you think is the correct answer, but first let me show you what Trump says.
A tariff is a tax on a foreign country. That's the way it is, whether you like it or not. A lot of people like to say, oh, it's a tax on us. No. It's a tax on a foreign country. It's a tax on a country that's ripping us off and stealing our jobs.
Okay, so according to Trump, a tariff is a tax on a foreign country. So that may be his interpretation, but let me tell you how it works. So the question is, who pays the tariff? Okay, so when Walmart imports goods from China, Walmart pays the tariff. So let's just say that Walmart imports a vacuum cleaner from China to sell in America. So let's say that Walmart buys the vacuum for $100 and they sell it for $150 and they make a $50 profit. Now, if there's a 10% tariff, then Walmart buys the vacuum for $100, but they need to pay a $10 tax to the government. If they continue to sell the vacuum for $150, then Walmart's profits will go down from 50 to 40. Now, in order to maintain their $50 profits, Walmart will increase the price of the vacuum from $150 to $160. So essentially,
that's if we allow them to increase it. Or we can go to Target or whoever else is not being charged that tariff. And I also want to clarify, see, there's a difference between using Walmart as an example and using Toyota as an example. when Trump said, and I wish Trump would have clarified this because he didn't. And when Trump says it's a tax on a foreign country, I don't know what exactly he means. I'm not even going to speculate. If Toyota, which is not an American company, see, the example that this gentleman is using is Walmart. Walmart is an American company. If Toyota, and I think that the example that Charlie Kirk was giving is that Toyota, which is, I believe, a Chinese company, because they had a tariff on their pickup trucks, they decided to move their factories to America. And therefore, they were hiring American people and having Americans make the pickup trucks because they avoided the tariffs. So in that case, going back to what Trump said, as far as it's a tax on another country, it's not a tax on another country. It's a tax on another company. Now, in Toyota's case, that would be an outside entity, an outside company outside of our country. So like I said, I'm not going to speculate on whether Trump meant what I just said. Trump needs to be clear. Trump needs to be clear on his end because maybe he doesn't have a full understanding of it, which I find hard to believe, but he should be clear so that way we understand exactly what the tariffs are. When it comes to an American company, yes, Walmart would be responsible for the tariff. Now, notice how he says, it shows in this picture that he said, if Walmart wants to keep that $50 profit, Walmart, are you putting America first? You make a lot of money off of Americans. I would think that you would want to put America, the American economy, and American citizens first. So why would we not put pressure on Walmart to say, hey, if this is going to be something that's beneficial for Americans, if this is going to be something that allows the value of our dollar to increase, inflation to go down, that allows us to have more production in America, more jobs and all these different things on a global or on a universal scale, I should say, whether it's with Walmart or other companies, just tariffs incentivize more business to be done in America. Why would Walmart not be willing to lessen their profit? Maybe they're just being greedy, but we should understand that. And then we can decide to purchase wherever we want to purchase. But let's keep going.
Eventually, the tax gets passed on to the consumer. And then the end result is that Americans end up.
I'm sorry, Ebony corrected and said Toyota is Japanese. So in that case, it would be charging a Japanese company. So like I said, regardless of whether Trump meant that or not, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate for Trump. I don't need to speculate for Trump. Trump needs to be clearer. Toyota would be charging a Japanese company. It would be charging them extra. Walmart, in my opinion, should eat this cost. We are in a bad position. If the United States of America was a business, we probably would have filed bankruptcy years ago. We owe so much money. We're in debt. I think we pretty much are like the little bros to China. This is why all these other countries, or a lot of other countries, are out competing us in these areas when it comes to the economy. Because it's simple economics. They sell to us. Let's go back to Baby Boy when he said it's guns and butter. There's buyers and there's sellers. Do we want to be a buyer or do we want to be a seller? China, they are sellers. They sell us products and make a lot of money off of us. We have been buyers. That is why Walmart gets most of their products from China. Sellers have better economies than buyers. You get what I'm saying? Sellers are usually in a better position. Sellers are usually more successful than buyers. I think we can leave that there. All right, let's keep going.
End up paying $10 more for a vacuum. But then you can make the argument that Americans can choose to buy a vacuum cleaner that's made in America. But look at the vacuums made in America. You know how much a Kirby vacuum costs? It's like $500. Like, I'm not going to spend $500 on a vacuum cleaner. Or you can buy a Hoover, but those are still more expensive, around $180. So again.
So it's $180 compared to $150. So let me also ask you that. Hoover has to charge, or let's say this, I'm not going to say what Hoover has to charge. If Hoover is currently charging $180, and then there's a tariff put on these vacuums that are made outside the country to make them more expensive. That makes Hoover more competitive. Now, if I was Hoover, I can't say what Hoover's going to do, but if I was Hoover and I'm currently charging $180 and I don't have as much of the market share because the other companies are charging so much more, so a lot of people are buying those vacuums. If more people were buying my vacuum, I would say, hey, I'm going to decrease my price. I'm going to decrease my price because I'm selling more vacuums. I'm selling more vacuums because now these other companies are charging customers more because of the tariff. So therefore, if we have the mindset of America first and prioritizing buying American goods, just like a lot of other countries prioritize buying goods that are made in their country, then not only would we be supporting Hoover, an American vacuum company, but we can also push Hoover to say, hey, we're going to be purchasing a lot more of your vacuums. Are you okay with now maybe making less of a profit margin, but still gaining more of the market share because now we're going to be buying more of your vacuums? So therefore, your profit margin may be less, but your overall profit may grow.
The US consumer ends up paying more in many instances when there are no cheaper made in America alternatives. Okay, so Walmart pays the tax. They pass that additional cost onto the US consumer. Now, where does that
I don't know why. So I picked this video for a reason, because it allows me to kind of go back and forth with him. I don't know why he's saying or assuming that Walmart is just passing on that cost. That is a decision that Walmart has to make. I just want us to be clear. 99% of the time, right now, they may pass on that cost. Cool. But they do not have to. And now this actually reminds me of, I think it was the owner of Coca-Cola. I forget. It was the owner of Coca-Cola, maybe Pepsi. I think I saw a video, and I think I played it for you guys a while ago, where they asked one of the owners of these companies and said, hey, if you charge a penny more, if you charge a nickel more on your products, your profit would grow significantly. Why don't you up the price? And this gentleman said, I don't need to up the price. The price is the price. I'm cool with the money that we make. So I don't think that we should just assume, like this gentleman is in the video, that Walmart's going to pass on that cost. Also, I don't think that we should assume that Walmart's going to pass on all 10% in the cost. I wouldn't. All it takes is a guy like Trump to expose the fact that Walmart's passing on the tax or passing on the cost. Just like Trump called out John Deere, Trump should call out a lot of these other companies and say, hey, yeah, if y'all are going to invest in America, if y'all care about America, then you got to be willing to take maybe a little bit of a loss in order to help the overall good of the country. Will you do it? Now, then the companies that say, yes, we'll do that, we should go support those companies. So instead of these other goofy boycotts that we're doing, let's actually do something that makes sense for the overall good of the country.
tax money go? Walmart sends it to the US Treasury, and it becomes more money for the government to spend. Now let's talk about this. How much more tax money are we talking about? Like, what's the potential of the new tax revenue for the US government? So in 2024, the US government collected a total of nearly $5 trillion in tax collections. A 10% tariff on all imports is expected to bring in $400 billion of new taxes each year. So therefore, a 10% tariff would bring in about 8% of what the government currently collects. So it would not be anywhere close enough to fund the entire government. Now, I know what some people are going to argue, but I'm already 2 steps ahead of the argument.
I'm not going to argue what he thinks I'm going to argue. Who said that the taxes have to fund the entire government for them to make an impact? They do not have to fund the entire government for them to make an impact. He's almost assuming like, oh, they got to fund the entire government or it's not going to work. Listen to what he's getting ready to explain. And I also want us to understand that regardless of how you feel about this, and I'm going to talk about it more in detail, which is, I believe it was called, hold on, let me pull up this other window. But I believe it's called Trump's Fair and Reciprocal Plan. A plan for reciprocal tariffs. Reciprocal. We all understand what that means. You tax us a certain amount, we tax you. What a lot of us aren't understanding is that these countries are already we pay higher tariffs when we sell our products in their country compared to them what they sell in our country. And I'll bring up a graph that details this. I got a couple different graphs. I got one that I just found on ChatGPT. We showed one of Canada the other day on the show, but I'll give you an example. The average tariff on American goods with Canada is 14.4%. That's what Canada's charging us. Our average tariff on their goods is 0.1%. Does that seem fair? The average tariff that China pays that we pay China whenever we're sending our products to be sold in China is 13.1%. Do you know the average that they pay in tariffs to sell their products to us? 2.9%. This is why they are successful. This is why Trump is saying that these other countries have been taking advantage of us for a very long time. So just think about that when you're also considering which way you're leaning when it comes to this tariff argument. All right, so let's get back to the video. We'll finish the video and we'll hear the example that the gentleman's getting ready to use.
People will argue that 100 years ago, 93% of the federal government's revenues came from tariffs. So in other words, we don't need an income tax. We can just go with tariffs. America has done it before. So listen, I am not a fan of income taxes, but again, let's use common sense. How big was the size of the government 100 years ago? How much has the government grown? The government has overreached into almost all aspects of our lives. I find it disturbing. 100 years ago, the federal government spending was 2.7% of GDP. Today, it has grown to 25% of GDP.
Now we understand why every single president has been trying to shrink the government, has been trying to save money. This is what Trump has been trying to do as far as shrinking the government. Now, you can argue how he's going about it. I understand all that. Cool. But what I'm trying to tell y'all is that every president has been trying to shrink the government because the government spends too much. When the government spends so much money, where do you think they get that money from that they have to spend? They either print it or they charge us it in taxes.
The government, measured by spending, has grown 10 times bigger in 100 years. So back then, the government was much smaller. Therefore, the government needed less money, and tariffs alone were enough money. Today, the government needs more money, and tariffs alone will not be sufficient. The math ain't mathin'. And I must address this to get ahead of the comments. So people make the argument that Trump imposed tariffs in his previous term, which Biden kept many and also added new ones. And people will make the argument.
Is that something that a lot of people are aware of? So Trump imposed a lot of these tariffs in his previous term. Biden kept many and added new ones. So maybe that's something to just consider whenever you hear a lot of the Democrats criticizing a lot of Trump's plans with the tariffs.
That
we didn't hear them criticizing Biden.
Even though Trump imposed tariffs, it did not spike inflation. So you have to realize that those tariffs were made on a smaller scale. It's nothing like a 10% tariff on all imports. In 2019, Trump's tariffs taxed about $400 billion worth of imports. So that resulted in new tax revenue of nearly $80 billion. So those were targeted tariffs. Imposing a 10% tariff on all $4 trillion of imports would be a whole different level. Now, I want to give you my opinion.
And let me be very clear. This whole 10% was just taken from an interview that Trump did where he was giving an example using 10%. Trump's actual plan that I got from a couple different sources, and it's even on the whitehouse.gov where he explains his reciprocal plan on trade, is fair and reciprocal. So it's not just a blanket 10%. I don't know what he's going to end up doing, but what they presented in the actual plan on the whitehouse.gov is a reciprocal plan. And this is what he said in his address to Congress. Whatever you guys charge us in tariffs, that's what we'll charge you guys. If Mexico charges us 10% in tariffs, we will charge Mexico 10% in tariffs. How is that not fair? And I think that, and this is why I say that when we're hearing from these biased sources and relying on them to explain the tariffs to us, it makes it very unclear. And we walk away very naive. That's why I decided to dive into this. Because I'm like, hold on, how is this side saying one thing, this side saying one thing? And then I have my own understanding that's somewhere in the middle. So just keep that in mind. This is just the 10% that he's using in the example. Trump's actual plan that's on whitehouse.gov is fair and reciprocal. You charge us what we charge you. Seems fair to me. I don't know what Trump is going to actually do.
The Trump tariff of 10% on all imports will not be enacted. Will Trump create new tariffs? Yes, absolutely. But they will be targeted, many at Chinese imports. So I believe there are two most probable outcomes. So the first one is that Trump backtracks on the idea. So this would not be the first time that he changes his mind. So listen, Trump is only human. Nobody's perfect. So I'll give you some examples of backtracking. Trump has appointed many advisors and government officials, and he ended up firing them. And there are other people that he regrets designating, such as Chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. So I'll give you another example, Bitcoin. In 2021, President Trump called Bitcoin a scam. And now he's done a 180. He wants to make the United States of America the crypto capital of the world. So let me show you the video clips.
I'll ask you one last question. You don't like Bitcoin? You wouldn't invest in Bitcoin? Do you invest in the stock market at this moment?
So not at this moment. I think it's high. So I have not invested in the stock market at this moment. I have in the past, but I have not at this moment. I think it's high. Okay. Bitcoin, I just seems like a scam. I was surprised. You know, with us, it was at 6,000 and much lower. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar. Essentially, it's a currency competing against the dollar. I want the dollar to be the currency of the world. That's what I've always said.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world.
Another big...
I want to end it there. And I, on purpose, wanted to play what a lot of people would say, hypocrisy. He contradicted himself. He did a 180. I actually appreciate that. Now, y'all may say, you're a Trumper. You know, that's why you appreciate it. Being able to pivot on your stance. There's a lot of ways that I thought 4 or 5 years ago that I do not think right now. With new information, you should pivot, especially when your job is taking care of people that it's not just you. You shouldn't just stand on something because you're stubborn. You shouldn't just vote Democrat and continue voting Democrat if it's not in your best interest anymore to vote Democrat. You understand what I'm saying? We shouldn't just do, this is what I thought 5 years ago, so this is what I'm standing on. I appreciate him changing his mind on that. Y'all can take it or leave it. Y'all can do what y'all want with it. You can say whatever. Matter of fact, it goes against how a lot of people describe him, I would say. A lot of people describe, he's just stubborn. He won't. That shows the change. That shows him being willing to change. And I also can appreciate him saying that he wants the US dollar to be the currency of the world. But if crypto is an opportunity for us, then shoot, let's take advantage of it. And let's make sure that America, we're benefiting from it more than anybody else. So I gave y'all my thoughts on the tariffs. I gave y'all a video explaining what the tariffs are, shared my thoughts with you going through the video. I want to play a video from the United Auto Worker president. So the United Auto Worker president, he had a conversation on CNN with Caitlin Collins. So this United Auto Worker president did not like Trump, called him a scab, supported Kamala Harris. So I just want to give y'all a perspective on who you're getting ready to hear from when he gives his opinion on tariffs and what Trump's doing for the country. So let's share this video. You guys give me your thoughts. Let me know your takeaway from it. And once again, keep in mind, this is not a Trumper. This is somebody who campaigned for Kamala Harris. This is somebody who went back and forth calling Trump names and whatnot. All right. So let's listen to what his thoughts are on Trump's quote unquote aggressive tariffs.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl.
Right. And shout out to Politibrawl.
Been paused until April.
Very
I didn't want to.
Let's dive in.
Yeah.
On those auto tariffs that have been paused until April 2nd, my question yesterday was, is the expectation that these companies are going to shift production in that 1 month period? And the White House press secretary said essentially they need to get on it. But I mean, is that even close to being feasible from your understanding?
I mean, I don't think they'll shift. You know, they can't just shut a plant down and move it in a month. But here's the issue. These companies are making decisions right now as we speak. You know, right now in Warren, Michigan, there are 2,000 laid off auto workers at the Warren truck plant. And Stellantis is shifting production, overflow production of the Ram truck to Mexico. They can change that decision. Warren Truck was the home of the Ram truck for decades. And so there's decisions like that can be made, and they can shift it pretty quickly. You talk about John Deere workers, you know, they have a factory that the company's claiming they're going to move to Mexico. You have Mack truck workers in Pennsylvania. The company committed to build a new truck in Pennsylvania. Now they're saying they're going to take it to Mexico. So these tariffs and these actions, you know, we are hopes that it'll be a motivator to get these companies to get their butts in gear and take care of American workers.
Companies, American companies, let me be clear. Here you have the president of this union, the United Auto Workers Union, and he's saying that the tariffs will incentivize companies to not be able to take their factories outside of America and take jobs away from Americans. He's saying that the tariffs will incentivize those companies to have their factories in America. He used John Deere as an example, and he used another example. Let's keep going. Once again, this is not a Trumper. This is a Kamala Harris supporter, somebody that campaigned for Kamala Harris.
What do you say about the uncertainty that some of these companies are facing? You know, the big three were told these tariffs are going into place, then they got an exception for them. Today, you know, everyone else who makes groceries, you know, oil, fertilizer, all of these other things that go back and forth across the border, they got an exception. What does the uncertainty say about how companies should be preparing for what's coming?
Well, you know, the companies, this isn't new. I mean, there's been warnings, you know, for a couple months now, for a month, you know, and, you know, since the election was called. I mean, we've heard this. So, you know, they've had time to prepare. You know, but I look at it this way, you know, what we've seen happen over the years, I mean, workers, consumers, communities, they've paid the price for NAFTA and for these unfair trade agreements, and they shouldn't have to pay to fix it. You know, we hear a lot of talk, a lot of fear mongering about, you know, tariffs or attacks. Tariffs are going to cause the price to go up. That's a choice on behalf of the companies. They don't have to raise the price a penny. That's the same thing we heard.
That's a choice on behalf of the company. They do not have to raise their prices. These super wealthy people, right? We all like to talk about the super wealthy people, right? We all like to talk about how Trump's only trying to help the wealthy, right? Well, apparently he's actually trying to do something to help the American people based on what this previous well, I'm not going to say previous, this Kamala Harris supporter, who's the president of the United Auto Workers Union. Think about that. The companies do not have to pass that cost along to us. That's why they're opposing these tariffs. That's why we're hearing, we have to understand where we're getting our information from. What are the biases that this particular person who's giving us information has, and how are they incentivized to lean one way or another? You heard this gentleman say tariffs are going to create and incentivize factories to operate in America, more jobs in America, more money circulating in America, rather than money going out to another company that a lot of us in any other situation would call as our competitor. So a lot of us like to say China's our biggest competitor, right? So if China's our biggest competitor, then why are we giving them so much money when it comes to their economy and purchasing products from them? It would make sense to us to either charge them an absurd amount, 10% may not even be enough. It would at least be charging them what they're charging us. Charge them what they're charging us and incentivize more production in America. Allow American companies that actually do. Think about if you're an American company. If you're an American company like Hoover in that vacuum example that they use, if you are an American company that is providing American people jobs. Think about it like this. You're an American company, you're providing American jobs, but you can't compete with the prices of these other products that are being imported into America. This helps you as an American company. This helps you. This helps you compete. So what side of this are we on? What side of this are we on? Let's keep going.
During our big three tariffs or attacks, tariffs are going to cause the price to go up. That's a choice on behalf of the companies. They don't have to raise the price a penny. That's the same thing we heard during our big three strike. You know, it was going to be the end of the world. The sky is falling if we get these contracts. And what happened? You know, we got great contracts, taking care of workers so they get their fair share. Companies are still making billions of dollars and they're still forking over billions of dollars to shareholders. So, you know, I believe we got to focus, you know, on what's right for American people. The American market is the cash cow for the auto industry. And, you know, we've seen, like I said, the exodus of 90,000 factories since NAFTA's inception, and that's got to change.
Some people might be surprised to hear you praising what Trump is doing on tariffs. I mean, you were one of the biggest, most prominent backers of Vice President Harris. You called.
It didn't freeze. I just wanted to let that soak in a little bit more.
Trump a scab, which is not, that's four letters. You praising what Trump is doing on tariffs. I mean, you were one of the biggest, most prominent backers of Vice President Harris. You called Trump a scab, which is not, that's a four-letter word that is not nice if you're a big union person, to put it lightly. What should someone take from this, that you're praising Trump's moves here, if he sticks with them?
Look, yeah, no, I mean, as I said, there's a lot of things we don't agree with. I mean, like the National Institute of Health Workers and all, you know, people whose jobs are being cut. But look, the election's over. No matter who's in charge, our mission doesn't change. You know,
the election's over. No matter who's in charge, our mission doesn't change. Perhaps we should have him consult for the Democratic Party. Maybe somebody should remind the Democrats that the election's over and we actually have to work together in order to create this united front in the United States of America. Perhaps somebody should remind the Democrats that them who accused Trump of being so divisive, that it's not a good strategy for them to push this divisive nature. Perhaps we should remind the Democrats that they are the party of democracy, which means that the majority of the people who they vote for, that's who comes into power. So maybe they should humble themselves and work with Trump and stop trying to create all this division for their own self-interest, but instead prioritize the good of the country.
Trump is the president. And, you know, we all recognize that there is a major issue with our broken trade laws. And, you know, we agree on that. And we're ready and willing to go to work to fix it. The working class in this nation has been hurting for decades because of unfair trade practices. And
the working class in America has been hurting for decades because of unfair trade practices. Well, what exactly is he talking about when he says unfair trade practices? Take a look at this window. So I just got this off ChatGPT. Y'all know ChatGPT bugs out sometimes, so I gotta let y'all know that it is ChatGPT. But real quick before I got on the show, I was like, let me just look this up real quick. Take a look at this. I already told y'all the average tariff on U.S. goods from Canada, 14.4%. So when we hear Justin Trudeau get on TV and say, I just want to speak to the American people, this is not what we want. Well, Justin Trudeau, if this is not what you want, why are you charging a 14 point, excuse me. Ooh, that kombucha got me burping. Why are you charging U.S. goods a 14.4% tariff when the United States of America is charging you a 0.1% tariff? Look at Mexico, 7.3 compared to 0.1. Look at China, 13.1 compared to 2.9. Look at Japan, 1.7% compared to 1.6. We cool with that. But let's bring it down to 1.6 and make it even. Germany, 1.6 to 1.6. This seems fair. This seems fair. So when we have Trump, hold on, let me go to when we have the whitehouse.gov and they put together this fact sheet, let me make sure y'all are looking at it. All right. We put together this fact sheet, right? Yeah, Trump consulted. He hired me as a consultant. When Trump and his team put together this fact sheet about the fair and reciprocal plan on trade, and let's put a little pressure on Trump and call them out for, y'all got to do a better job explaining this stuff. You know, a lot of people say that the Democrats didn't know how to deliver their message and the Republicans just sold their product better. Y'all should do better. Y'all should do better because you can clear a lot of this confusion. All right. Fair and reciprocal plan. Explain it. America will no longer tolerate unfair trade practices. The United States is one of the most open economies in the world, yet our trading partners keep their markets closed to our exports. The lack of reciprocity is unfair and contributes to our large and persistent annual trade deficit. This is why we have a trade deficit. This is why. There are endless examples where our trading partners do not give the United States reciprocal treatment. Just think of these examples. And I'll put this is what I'll do. I'll put the website. I'll put the link in the chat. You guys take a look at it for yourself. Take a look at it for yourself. I recommend that everybody looks into this stuff. This is what I did over the last day or so, just because I was confused on all this stuff and I was tired of getting bamboozled and finessed based on whose bias was coming in, based on what's beneficial for them. This is what we have to do, a better job of just looking stuff up. We can't rely on our politicians on either side to explain stuff to us to the point where we have a true understanding. They are going to input their own bias based on what's in their best interest, not necessarily what's in the best interest of the common folk, us Americans. So let's keep going. I'm going to go back to this video. Well, let me give y'all one last glimpse of this chat GPT. Where's the chat GPT one? I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Hold on. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Maybe do a little screenshot so you guys can go back and check those numbers. Let's fact check them because, like I said, this is chat GPT, so we do have to fact check this. But let's go back to the rest of this video with Sean Fain and Caitlin Collins, and then we'll wrap up this part of the show.
They're not concerned with party politics. They want their problems addressed, and they expect leaders to lead.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what?
So there you have it. There you have it. I mean, give me a thumbs up. Give me something in the chat if you have a better understanding now with tariffs than before. Hopefully this was as non-biased of a explanation on tariffs as you can get. Yeah, I'm trying to just approach this from a very non-biased standpoint and just figure out what's best for the country. Figure out what's best for the country. Move politics to the side. Prioritize just what's best for the country. All right, so what's next? What's next? So let's actually get into hold on one second. Let's actually get into, I was going to save the Gabrielle Union video for last, but let me actually play this video first. And I actually did a side video on this, but from yesterday, but let me actually play these clips that I want to show y'all. All right. I wish I had the hold on. So let me play the video that Gabrielle just put out. So we'll play the video that she just put out. And then while that's playing, I'm going to find the video of what she said previously. All right. So let's get this full screen for you guys. Let's get this full screen for y'all. Here we go. Up on the screen. All right, we're good.
Said 50-50 or bust, right? And I meant that financially, spiritually, emotionally. And there's just a lot of days that I have 10% and I need him to be 90. There's days I don't have shit and I need him to be 100. It's a trauma response. And 50-50 is I'm not going to be vulnerable enough to trust you with 100% of anything, not my heart, not my cash. And when I started to really address that, and I was like, do you want to pay whole mortgage? I thought I was about to die. I had such anxiety. Like I was crying, I was shaking. And he was like, you insisted on that. He's like, I thought it made you feel better. I'm like, it did. And right now I want to take it back. Now it sounds crazy to be like, you, Mr. NBA superstar who made a bazillion more amount of money than I do, can pay the mortgage, because I hate the feeling of releasing that to someone. And you release that to someone, chaos can happen. And it's brought us closer because he knows it's not about whether he can afford it. It's being vulnerable enough to be open enough to know that I'm okay. I'm okay as his wife. He's okay as my husband. I'm okay in this family. I'm okay in this home. I deserve it. And so I'm trying to expand my heart, expand all of the notions of what vulnerability can look like.
As you heal, as you evolve, as you lean more into vulnerability, you can also change how you feel about something, and it's okay. Sometimes when we build those walls up for safety or to keep what we think is harm out, we can also keep love out too.
Congresswoman.
All right, hold on. We ain't trying to go over there yet. Hold on. So that's what Gabrielle just said. So let's keep that on the back burner for now. I want to play y'all the video of what she previously said. Let's see what she previously said and why she said it. Let me make sure that we're got this shared. All right, boom. This is what she previously said.
Household, because it's weird to say I'm head of household.
Let me actually fast forward a little bit so we can. There we go.
The actress makes the confession on idea generation with Noah Callahan Bever.
At what point did you develop that first sense of security and that the work is coming and there isn't this sort of sense of the rug is going, could still be pulled out?
I struggle with that still, just because I think I just have more responsibilities, for my money. So I get nervous, like, oh God, that movie didn't open, well, what does that mean? Am I gonna have enough to hold everybody up?
And that's when Gabrielle explains why bills are split evenly in their home.
Say I'm head of household because in this household, we split everything 50-50. But in the other households that each of us have to support, it puts there's always this like gorilla on your back that it is like, you better work, you better work. You gonna sleep in? Somebody might not eat.
Yeah, and the internet has.
All right, so I just want to leave it there. I want to leave it there and have a conversation, and we'll probably bring up this video again. But for now, first and foremost, I want to celebrate her for this. I want to say that I truly appreciate her voicing her opinion and acknowledging that she changed her mind on something. I'm not going to say that she was wrong, right, whatever. She changed her mind on something. Now, let me also preface it with whatever works for you and yours, whatever works for your relationship, whether it's 50-50, 80-20, whatever ratio works best for your relationship, that's what you should do. A lot of times we look at celebrities and clearly, I know a lot of us think that we are exceptional human beings. I understand that. I'm not taking away from that. But when it comes to finances, let's just leave it there, and the type of lifestyle that they live, Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade are exceptional compared to the norm. We're more of the norm. So a lot of times we'll look at celebrities and people of great influence and take advice from them, even though they are exceptions, but we'll apply it to our norms. That can be an issue. But once again, I want to say that I'm thankful for Gabrielle because she not only changed her stance, but publicly made it clear. She acknowledged that it sounds crazy saying that we're going to split this, even though Dwayne Wade has made a lot more money than her. Now, Dwayne Wade, if you want to see his kind of take on it, he had an interesting take on it with Shannon Sharp when he did an interview with Shannon Sharp. I played it in a video that I recorded yesterday. So if you want to see the full video for that, you guys can take a look at that. I don't want to bore you, or not bore you. I don't want to drag the conversation along too much. But I think what ends up happening is, and you guys can tell me, is that because we prioritize and put such an emphasis and celebrate what has traditionally been more masculine roles, the protection, the providing, especially the provision, because we celebrate that, the breadwinner, right? We celebrate those things more than the caretaker, the mother, the wife, you know what I mean? All the more traditional duties that we would say are roles that are more aligned from a feminine standpoint. And that is why a lot of people feel a particular way. Now, if you mentioned, if you listen to the video, in the video, her response when she said it was a trauma response, Dwayne Wade explained this in a video where he said one time to her about their house in Miami that Dwayne Wade paid for, like it's my house. And that made her feel very bad. She felt that feeling and then led with her feeling of never wanting to feel that low feeling again, that small feeling again, because it's a house that they share. I can understand that from her perspective. I can understand that from her perspective. This is a house that we share, and we know what we do in arguments, probably disagreements. They probably had something where he said, like, yo, that's my house. Damn, you're going to put that? So I can understand why Gabrielle would feel some type of way in that situation. The problem is she's then letting her feelings, aka emotions, lead her based on what makes the most logical sense. And clearly, when you're leading with your emotions, most of the time you're not going to make a logical decision. So when you have, this is why I said I'm very appreciative. Let me catch up with the comments. My fault. I see Maya wrote, I'm glad she came to her senses. She was overworking and stressing herself rather than being vulnerable, and now she can enjoy life a bit more. And that's another interesting thing. What's so funny is we always are fighting for our men to be more vulnerable. We need men to be more vulnerable. But at the same time, especially when you see the Democratic Party, had to take a little shot at that. At the same time, it seems like we're pushing our women to be more and more masculine, and we're only celebrating and valuing the more masculine traits. So I understand from Gabrielle Union's perspective why she would never want to feel that way. I understand. That's why she said it was a trauma response. The issue is we just have to be more logical. We have to be more logical in a lot of these decisions. And shout out to Coach O. Y'all know when I always relate everything to sports. Coach O up in Canada, he gave me probably one of the most important lessons in life, and I've shared it with you guys before, is that do what makes sense. You do what makes sense. And it makes sense for me right now. I just got an alert from my mother. Let me make sure. Oh, I think my mom's tapping in. All right. She just let me know. All right. Whatever. Not whatever. Don't say whatever to your mom. I wasn't saying whatever to her. Y'all get what I'm saying. So I appreciate her not only changing her stance, but acknowledging her stance. And I just wanted us to kind of celebrate her for that, because well, you know what's so funny? I was getting ready to make a joke referring to the Democratic Party, and I was going to be like, yo, the Democratic Party, it seems like their number one consultant is Gabrielle Union. And then I said, and maybe whack 100 because it just causes chaos. But I had to take a step back and say, nah, Gabrielle showed a lot more growth than a lot of us are willing to show. Not only did she change her perspective, but she was willing to voice it just as loud as her initial point. So I'm going to play her video one more time. Probably it may stop it here and there, but I'm celebrating Gabrielle right now. I'm celebrating Gabrielle. Shout out to Shy in the building. Shout out to Shelly. How's everything? All right, let's listen to it one more time, and we'll go from there.
50-50. I famously said 50-50 or bust, right? And I meant that financially, spiritually, emotionally. And there's just a lot of days that I have 10% and I need him to be 90. There's days I don't have shit and I need him to be 100. It's a trauma response. And 50-50 is I'm not going to be vulnerable enough to trust you with 100% of anything, not my heart.
And I want to stop it here real quick because I was reminded by something. One of the scariest things about taking advice from people who are exceptions, who are celebrities, who don't have lives that align with ours, is that she can afford to change her mind. Gabrielle Union can afford to change her mind and say, you know what? I think I want 50-50 now. And what did she say? She said it to Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade was like, yo, I thought you wanted that. All right, cool, no problem. I'll pick up most of the tab, right? Think about what she's saying when she says that she was stressed out. She felt all this pressure. Certain days she didn't have anything to give. This is what a lot of my female friends complain about, but I don't think that we necessarily connect the dots when it comes to this area. I've heard, and some of Maya's friends, I would say, to where they feel that they've been tricked into focusing all of their effort, time, energy, focus on climbing the corporate ladder and not prioritizing family. So what happens is, in Gabrielle's situation, she's allowed to just, switch it up. But what actually happens in our lives, you have to become a different type of person. Maybe, matter of fact, I'm not going to say what you have to become. I believe, in order to make more money, in order to climb the corporate ladder, in order to become more successful in any field, you change who you are. There's a lot of pressure, anxiety. Gabrielle Union's talking about it in this video. And with that pressure, it doesn't just only impact you in that particular area. It also, it then bleeds into how you're maybe interacting with your wife, with your husband, how you're interacting with your kids, the mood that you have, when the mindset that you have to have in order to go out here and compete in the corporate world where it's a lot of gray area, a lot of dirty. We know exactly what that is. We know exactly what that is. And to just be able to turn that switch off and say, oh, well, I'm a totally different person at home, it can become very hard. So what ends up happening is, what do women do? Women take their 20s and 30s to want to climb the corporate ladder, right? Climb the corporate ladder, and they become certain type of, you have to grow and develop into a different type of person in order to have successful in this particular area. So now you've had all this training, all of this experience in becoming independent, in doing all these things by yourself, in competing in these areas from a corporate standpoint. Now you're a different type of person that may not necessarily align with you becoming interdependent with a significant other. So that's the only warning that I want to give. Maybe you guys can tell me that it's different. Maybe a lot of y'all are able to turn into this person at work and then completely cut it off. If you are one of those people, I would suggest maybe asking, your significant other, because maybe you think that you are that type of person, but your significant other would say otherwise. It's a very big struggle for me. I can tell you, even competing in football, when I was competing in football and had all that stress and anxiety of I could be cut at any time, I was not as pleasurable. I was not as much of a pleasure to be around in certain times. I'll be totally honest, especially when it came to training camp. If I'm stressing, if I'm going through this, if I have to turn into a different person in order to compete, a lot of times people say this happens in a lot of like combat sports. I'm not even going to put it on that. But when you have certain jobs, it bleeds into your family life. So that's the only warning that I want to give, to each their own. And I want to just finish it off with once again saying, whatever ratio works for you, whether it's 50-50, and it doesn't even have to, it's a team. It's going to be different every day. And I think that's what Gabrielle Union was saying, and I appreciate her saying it. So even if you say it's 50-50, nah, it's not going to be 50-50 every day. It's going to change based on what the team needs, right? No 2 days are the same. So therefore, you're always going to have a different ratio in order to get the best results. So let's keep going. We'll let her finish off, and then we'll move on to, we may move on to Candace and Nick, but we may have to push that off till tomorrow. But let's keep going.
Not my cash. And when I started to really address that, and I was like, do you want to pay whole mortgage? I thought I was about to die. I had such anxiety. Like, I was crying, I was shaking. And he was like, you insisted on that. He's like, I thought it made you feel better. I'm like, it did. And right now I want to take it back. Now it sounds crazy to be like, you, Mr. NBA superstar who made a bazillion more amount of money than I do, can pay the mortgage, because I hate the feeling of releasing that to someone. And you release that to someone, chaos can happen. And it's brought us closer, because he knows it's not about whether he can afford it. It's being vulnerable enough to be open enough to know that I'm okay. I'm okay as his wife. He's okay as my husband. I'm okay in this family. I'm okay in this home. I deserve it. And so I'm trying to expand my heart, expand all of the notions of what vulnerability can look like.
And what I'm hearing is, this is why, and I'm not even talking about just her, but even in life, I don't know if y'all realize it, this is why insecurities can be so dangerous. somebody not feeling secure, somebody not feeling good about themselves, you never know how that's going to impact them and the energy that they put out in different areas. There's nothing, I'm not going to say there's nothing worse, but one of the worst feelings is feeling insecure, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you're not bringing enough to the table, feeling as if everything that you have or the role that you play can just be taken away from you. All of these things can impact people in different ways and cause you to behave in certain ways that may not be what's best for the team and your desired goal. So when I hear her say that it was a trauma response, when I hear her say like, no, I want to pay 50-50, it's insecurities. And shout out to D Wade, I guess, you know, and let me be very clear. I disagree with Gabrielle and D Wade on a lot of stuff when it comes to how they push certain things, to how they use their influence in certain ways. Let me just say that. But when it comes to this, shout out to them. And it seems like D Wade is the type of guy that will make her feel secure. So a lot of times it's on one or the other. Both people have to make each other feel secure in order for us to have the best results. And I'm just thinking about it from a team perspective. You know, if you're on a team with somebody, everybody wants their role. Everybody wants to feel like their role matters. Everybody wants to feel that their role is contributing to the overall team success.
As you heal, as you evolve, as you lean more into vulnerability, you can also change how you feel about something, and it's okay. Sometimes when we build those walls up for safety or to keep what we think is harm out, we can also keep love out too.
Congress.
All right. So I think we did well on that. Shah said, pride and ego is our biggest downfall. It occurs in so many different areas. But once again, I got to say, I'm sure Gabrielle got a lot of pride. I'm sure she got a lot of ego. I think we see that, and I think we've seen that in different ways. So we got to celebrate and encourage. And the reason why I'm celebrating her so much for not only, I mean, she change her stance is one thing, but being open enough to voice it as loud as she voiced her initial stance, that's big. That's what we need more of. We need to create spaces where people are allowed to change their minds rather than just being stubborn and trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense, all to just prove how they initially felt in the beginning. Let me see. So Ebony said, I'm glad she came to her senses and made it public too. Masculine energy is best served through the masculine vessel. Our feminine spirit moves differently when we don't have to focus on those things. I agree. And like I said, different situations are going to call for us to move in different ways. You know, like it could be, you know, one person may slip up in one area or maybe suffering in one area. That's what you have a teammate for, to pick up the slack. All right, I got you. You know what I mean? I'll hold it down for a bit, but then, you know, until you get back on your feet, then boom. All right, now you coming back better, stronger than ever. So, so shout out to them. Shout out to them. Let's get into, y'all want to just take, maybe about like 10-15 minutes to watch some of this interview with Candace Owens and Nick Cannon. I thought it was a good interview. It's been I really feel like when it comes to Candace, there's a lot of people that don't want to platform her based on certain stances that she's been taking recently. And I think that this is a good conversation for us to take a look at. So we'll look at a bit of it. And who knows? Maybe we'll watch the whole thing. It depends on how long y'all trying to stay on here. But at least let's get into a little bit of it. And then maybe you guys can finish it up on your own, or we'll finish it up tomorrow. But let's get into this conversation. I'm going to change it up just for this one so you can get more of the screen. All right, let's get into
What is it about me that upsets people so much? I can't figure it out.
You don't lead with compassion.
No, I'm not a
that's
buck.
gonna
I'm
make
not a buck
people
that can be broken.
Yeah, that's gonna make
I'm not a buck
people
that can
feel
be broken.
bad.
So your feelings were hurt when I said that only women can give birth. That's hurt speech. Your feelings were hurt when I said the fat acceptance movement is unacceptable. That's hurt speech, right?
So you're not saying it's because you don't hate.
Actually, what you should hate is the lie that's making you think that there's glory in being clinically obese when in fact it's the #1 killer in America. That's what you should hate. You should hate the lie. The truth might hurt. Truth does in fact hurt, but it's not hateful, right? So it's hurt speech. And
So
and do I engage in hurt speech?
Yes.
Yes. Do people get their feelings hurt? Yes.
You hurt a lot of people's
But I am
feelings.
not
Please make sure that you like, and
I don't
subscribe.
believe hate speech exists.
There's no such thing as hate speech?
No.
This is counsel culture. It's all about counseling, not canceling. I hear y'all in the comments. Let's see if we can get some counsel with the one and only Candace Owens.
I don't know if he heard us in the
Ladies and
comments,
gentlemen,
because if you look at the comments
we're
of
back,
this interview, it ain't feeling Nick
and
too much.
I guarantee this is probably one of the most commented and heaviest sessions that we are experiencing here on Council Culture. But it is a brave place and a safe space to have dialogue freely and ultimately trying to come together so we can heal as a community. There's a lot going on in the world. And the ability to have discourse and agree to disagree. And a lot of these freedoms aren't present in other parts of the world. And a lot of these freedoms haven't always been present here in America. But the fact that we can share our views and our truths with one another, other people comment, other people have whatever opinions. But one thing I must always respect and admire about you is your courage, is your ability to be so outspoken, to be a critical thinker, but also a critical speaker. And not care what people say, but you, as a Black woman, feel like, look, I don't have to be nice.
The interview, Nick.
This is what I believe. This is what I know to be the truth. And I'm not gonna attempt to babysit or placate or say, just, I believe you should be a little bit more compassionate, but you're saying the truth is the truth, and I'm saying that unapologetically. Where does that come from?
Honestly, I do think I just came out like this. I've always been
Other
this
people,
person.
is your parents like this? Or, I know you say your grandfather.
Granddad, yeah. And I think, by the way, I am extremely nice. Anybody who knows me will tell you I'm extremely nice.
You're a kind person.
But I don't think telling lies is nice. Like, I don't think telling a lie out of compassion is a good thing.
You're hurting a lot of people's feelings.
But it would hurt my spirit to tell someone a lie. So that your feeling is not your spirit. And I'm telling you that, like, that I can't do. I just cannot. I'm not going to have to. I'd have to confess it. I mean, it's a sin. I can't lie to somebody.
Now, are you concerned?
And because it hurts them in the end. So you might think you're doing a temporary goodness by placating them, but ultimately you're hurting them. They can't actually turn around. I had a wonderful sit down with a man named Brianna. He's 22, considers himself transgendered still.
Real quick, how do y'all feel about that? Would y'all rather get the harsh truth or a beautiful lie? How do y'all feel about that?
Presents as a woman, turn around. I had a wonderful sit down with a man named Brianna. He's 22, considers himself transgendered still, presents as a woman. One of the best discussions I've ever had. You would watch it and say, Candace was so compassionate. And he got the bottom surgery as soon as he turned 19. Biggest regret of his life was crying. It was the only episode I almost ever cried on was listening to this story. And I just wondered, how could he get to this point? And he talked about how, well, he learned about transgenderism on TikTok, and then he found a doctor on TikTok, and everyone told him in school it was going to be great, and all he had to do was like start living out this dream. And then he said he started following all of the trans accounts that had tons of followers, and it was this dream to just be a big star like some of these trans accounts, I guess, that are on TikTok. And it was a very interesting discussion because right into the beginning, I realized we got to bring back cigarettes.
What?
Let me tell you why. Adolescence is normal. We all want to do something bad when we coming of age. We want to do something. We want to rebel, right? We used to just smoke cigarettes, right? In the 80s, they were just smoking cigarettes. Now, to be adolescent and to rebel, they're changing their genders. They're like, oh, I don't want to be like my mom, and so I'm non-binary. I'm not bound by gender. No, this is who I am. You have that same, that's normal. You're gonna
believe that?
They don't, because their brains are not developed.
This is always going to be a tough conversation when it comes to whether or not they actually believe it. I don't know. What I say is that I think that kids, especially in that adolescent age and younger, up until maybe 20, 25, you are very impressionable. You are very impressionable. And she's right. A lot of kids do want to act out. A lot of kids do just want to attach themselves to a movement that makes them feel like a rebel. Maybe that's the reason why a lot of the civil rights groups were younger people, whether it was a Fred Hampton, a Stokely Carmichael, even MLK, whether it was SNCC, the Student Nonviolent, what was it? SNCC? What did SNCC say? Somebody look up what SNCC, Student Nonviolent Commission. I forget the name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. These were young groups. A lot of these freedom groups were college kids, high school kids, young 20s. That's the age where you're looking to take on a particular movement and rebel against something that you feel is oppressing you in a particular way, and you want to fight against it. So I do believe that that's a real thing. I do believe it. Now, Nick Cannon, I guess he's sitting here saying, well, they really do believe that. I can't, just me giving my personal opinion, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that the majority of, now I guess only time will tell, right? But let me say this. This is what I predict. In about 10, 15, 20 years, there will be an awakening, a movement. Maybe some people will call it an epiphany, because a lot of people will start to come out and say, yo, I was just persuaded to do this. I thought it was cool. I thought it was rebellious. I thought it was this. I thought it was that. And I regret a lot of these decisions that I made. Now, hopefully the people that do regret it, hopefully they didn't make a permanent change. Hopefully they can come back from it. The situation that she's talking about, somebody actually changed. They cut off their penis and now they regret it. That's a very, very, I can't even imagine being in that situation. Let's keep going.
So this is who I am. I'm going to tell my parents, I'm like, oh man, can we just go back? I know in the 90s, the campaign, we stomped out steroids. Maybe we should bring them back so kids are experimenting with like tobacco and not experimenting with their genitals. Because that's where we are now in society. That's what they're doing now to stand out. And so going back to Breonna's story, Breonna got the bottom surgery. It was an absolute disaster. It was essentially Frankenstein. And listening to him tell the story, everyone should go watch that. Like my sit down. I wish I could remember Breonna's last name. If you find it, Savannah, just shout it. And he's through tears saying to me, no one told him no. Everyone just wanted him to feel good. Like how much I wish that Breonna, and when he reached out to me to come on my show, he said, I'm trying to think to God, like why this happened to me. And I'm thinking maybe it happened to me so I could share my story, So people, what is it? Ivy, Breonna Ivy. And in reality, I assessed him pretty quickly. He was just gay, for real. He was just gay. And I said to him, do you think that you were just gay? But he said early on, he thought his dad didn't want to have a gay son. So he tried to be a woman. And then everybody said, yes, 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 yes. Compassion, 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 compassion. And then he cut his dick off.
But that's
and you know
not
what?
the compassion.
You don't get to undo that. But that is compassion. That's what you're talking about.
No.
I agree that is a certain level of compassion, because we see it all the time with this obesity epidemic. We see it all the time. We saw it with the young lady, Dank DeMoss, the rapper who sued the Uber driver or Uber or whatever because he turned her down as a ride. We saw her when she stepped into that Breakfast Club interview where she thought that, hey, everything, things should be accommodating to big people like me. We see it when we walk in Nike, and now they, push to have more of the plus size models. And just being totally honest, they've gotten rid of a lot of the petite sections. We see it all the time. We think that we're being nice to people. We think that we're showing compassion. And a lot of times that compassion that a lot of us naturally want to show is enabling that bad behavior or unhealthy behavior. You can say, I don't want to say bad or good, but I think we can agree that it's unhealthy. And I'm talking about the obesity epidemic.
This is what Breonna believed. You're like, what if he believes it? I'm sure he did believe it. He believed it so much that he went to a hospital and got his bottom parts removed. And he deeply regrets that now, because nobody was the adult in the room who stopped treating him like a toddler and said, hey, that's a cosmetic procedure. You are never going to be a woman. You can change your name. You can buy yourself some tits, but you're not going to be a woman. Somebody should have said that. So I want to be that voice, because if me sitting down with Brianna stopped a million kids from listening to their compassionate friends and their compassionate teachers and the compassionate media, then I think I'm doing the Lord's work.
So in doing the Lord's work, are you concerned about being silenced? Because I know you experienced something similar to what I experienced, and it was hard on you. It was hard when people were calling you anti-Semitic, or when financially and you were affected. Your life, or what we know as your livelihood, was threatened to be taken away from you because of not only something that you didn't say, but that a rhetoric or something that was placed on you that was untrue, but it was easily digested because people kept saying it, and there was articles written, and therefore we almost, in that setting, we almost
Nick
didn't
seems
hear
so
from
uncomfortable
Candace
in this
anymore
conversation.
for a while until, I mean, I don't know what actually happened or what conspired, but in that process, I felt like there was a certain time that you actually were really almost canceled.
No.
You don't think so?
No, they wrote their articles. They
But
called
no,
me
let's be
anti-Semitic.
honest. Let's be
No,
honest, though, because
cancel,
if someone
cancel,
like
you can only truly be
that
canceled.
shit affected you.
Yeah, it impacted my life.
Yeah.
And look,
you're stronger now.
yeah, you know, I always say this to people, and I hope people, if you take anything away from this discussion, that it's this: God is looking out for you. And a lot of the times when you are going through something and you can't really comprehend it, and if you know that you did nothing wrong, then just give him a little time. And genuinely, when I was going through that, I was thanking God, because I knew whatever was around the corner, whatever he could see that I couldn't see, because he's the great mathematician. So sometimes he has to take negatives in your life. There's a plus there, then there's a random negative, a division. You go, what's going on? There's some equation that I can't see that God can, right? And so if he hit me with the minus, I knew it was because there was a calculation that was perfect. And it was.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because I think a lot of us deal with that in different ways, where we think so short term. We only think about that, oh, it's a minus sign right now, so now the entire equation is off. It's a division, it's a divide sign right there, right? So now the entire equation, no, it's. And what's funny is a lot of times, and this came up in this Cat Williams video that I just posted, a lot of times things will be removed from our lives based on the things that we're saying we want to become with our lives. It's almost like, let me give a silly example. If I say I want to be healthier, but then somebody comes in my house and takes away all of my favorite snacks, takes away all of my favorite sodas, whatever, then obviously that's taking away something from me that I enjoy. So, but it's doing it for the greater purpose of what I said that I want for the outcome in this particular area regarding health. So she brings up an interesting point, or a great point. A lot of times, and I think that that's a lot of times how people allow themselves to get canceled, how they allow them to get canceled, which is you say certain things, you push certain things, you align yourself with a particular stance, and what ends up happening? Oh, you lose this opportunity. You're fired from your job. We're taking away funding here. We're taking away. And then what does that person typically do? Oh, okay, no, please give me my job back. Please, I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever. Because they can only see things in the short term, because they weren't willing to stand on whatever their initial stance. They weren't willing to stand 10 toes on it. They didn't trust that, okay, there may be something, this may just be a necessary thing, a part of my journey in order for me to accomplish the things that I'm looking to accomplish. We don't really trust it. We don't trust that process. And maybe that's us questioning our faith, us questioning God, us questioning a lot of things in our lives. So I don't know. Let's keep going.
Was divine. And I had that strength because I have faith the entire time. I mean, I took the time off and I was like excited again because I love being in the driver's seat of my life. We get to bring the show back, get to bring the team back, it gets to be my vision. And I was studying with a priest, got to actually devote more time to the Bible. And yeah, I don't know. I could care less. Rabbi Shmuley? I mean, what? Like calling like Rabbi Shmuley? I tried to get him on my show, by the way, last week, because he's just like, he's a joke, you know? And so to the extent that you're going to threaten my life, you're going to put me on a list, you don't have power. You have no power. And that is what drives them crazy. I won't give them power. You're not handing me 6 steps to get back my life. I will rebuild that from one brick.
Now, y'all know why Nick is sitting there looking like that, because, and in a lot of ways, people may think that she's directing this right at him, because like he said earlier, he went through something that he categorized as similar. So whether it's this, whether it's canceled in another way, if you have a strong stance on something, chances are there's going to be people that oppose it. I mean, I deal with it, not to make this about me, but I deal with it all the time. When you're black, you're young, look like me, a lot of people just assume that you're a Democrat. They assume that you're a liberal. They assume that you think this particular way about these situations. You have to be supportive of Black Lives Matter. Oh, you got to be cool with you're against DEI. You're against the LGBTQ community. Listen, I'm with whatever I'm with at that particular time. I'm not just aligning my stances based on this gang mentality that a lot of us decide to participate in. You can ask me how I feel on this topic. I may be more liberal. You can ask me how I feel on these topics. I may be more conservative. It based on what makes sense to me at that time. I'm not aligning my views based on what's going to get me canceled, what's going to get me more views. And I think she brings it up later on in the interview. Think about the things that get us views. And maybe this is another point. Hold on. Let me have this other little combo with y'all for a second. Think about the things that get us the most views. A lot of times those are the most negative things because they're not threatening. See, when you bring a sense of common sense and intelligence or a different stance than people are just used to, that's what threatens the go along, get along. That's what threatens when you start to try to wake up some sheep and to show them like, hey, y'all just walking to slaughter. Maybe we should make a left instead of keep going straight. That the herder becomes very upset. And the herder benefits from those sheep walking themselves straight. So, of course, they're going to give you a slap on the wrist. Of course, they're going to make an example out of you. Of course, they're going to try to break that buck just like they would do in slavery. Of course, they're going to do all those things. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't stand on it. Especially, think about it now. We don't have to I'm not getting whipped for having the opinions that I have on politics right now, on life right now. Maybe 200 years ago, I would have been whipped. So what excuse do we really have? We got mad at Trump for supposedly getting rid of Black history. Maybe we should actually think about Black history and think about what people went through in order to stand up for certain things 200 years ago and what we're not even willing to risk right now because, oh, what if I lose this particular payment, this stream of income, then I can't have the nice car. I may not have, I won't be able to have this mansion. Instead, I'll just be living in a modest house. What are we willing to risk? What are we willing to stand on? What are we willing to sacrifice for the things that we believe in? Or are we just going to go along with the get along? And most of us, at the end of the day, we go along with the get along. So my point that I was making, and right now with society where everything is views based, everything is growing social media, everything is growing your platform, right? So what ends up happening is the majority of us, the views that we get, the attention that we get, the influence that we have in pushing a lot of the BS is greater than pushing a lot of the things that align with our principles, morals, and values. So what do we end up doing? We end up doing what everybody else does. Yo, that's what's paying, so that's what I'm going over there. We end up doing exactly what the rappers do. What did Meek Mill say? The record companies pay us more to push this ignorance rather than to push something that's positive. The record label's going to pay us more to teach your kids to kill each other, to do drugs, to sell drugs, all this other BS, to treat women a particular way, to treat men a particular. They're going to pay us more. And that's what most of us do in our day-to-day lives. We're not standing on principles. We're not standing on morals. We're making our decisions based on the short term. What can get me the nice car? What can get me the nice dinner? What can get me all this other goofy stuff that doesn't matter at the end of the day? But let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let me switch this up. Boom.
Before I let you think that you're the God in my life. And so that's to everybody. Right? You can't cancel Candace because you didn't create Candace. So until Christ returns, there's nobody capable of canceling Candace. You're not my creator. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that.
Yo, when people stand up, I think, and Maya, let me hold on. Let me catch up with all these comments. This right here is true about life. Ebony said, Mama Lay said, I agree. 100. Ebony said, I did like how hard she went. So much respect for her from that period of time. I agree, Ebony, whether you like her or agree with her, you have to respect her. She is very principled. He had to know you got to be ready to take on Candace. I don't think, maybe somebody made Nick do this. I don't know. But Nick, it didn't seem like he was prepared. Seems like he's very confused. Seems like, I mean, this is probably the worst that I've ever seen Nick Cannon look in these. What was it? 4? I think there was 4 segments that made up this entire interview. This is the worst that I've ever seen Nick Cannon. I'm a Nick Cannon fan. She really is. It's refreshing to see in these times. It definitely is refreshing. All right, let's keep going.
That, I think, is ultimately what drives them crazy, is because they're so used to having control over people because of how much money is being paid to them. Oh, well, all you got to do is toe this one line. So for me, I started feeling like when Rabbi Shmuley, who we're talking about here, was attacking me, all I had to do to keep things copacetic was to like be okay with Palestinian kids being blown up. I wasn't okay with it. I'm still not okay with it. Again, I could have done the thing, but a piece of my soul would have gone. And so I can't go to sleep like looking at these little Palestinian girls being blown up. You know, I have images of that. I was 9 months pregnant when I was looking at these images. They're the same color as my kids. My kids are mixed. No. So if the price of telling the truth that when Palestinian innocent children are murdered, it's sad. If the price of that is I got to have some articles written about me and I got to be called anti-Semitic, that seems like a pretty cheap price for saying the right thing.
Is there any line, because a lot of what you say has been deemed as hate speech. How do you determine when you say things very forcefully, sometimes aggressively, sometimes unapologetically, how do you say that's not hate speech? Even because you can still speak truth and be hateful.
Just because you hate it doesn't make it hateful. Okay? That's what people should know. Just because you hate it doesn't mean it's hateful.
That's a bar, but that's, you know, that's you.
I should have been a rapper.
you spun it a little bit.
That's the truth. That is the truth.
But no, but like
it's you can.
So what would be your definition of hate speech?
I don't believe hate speech exists.
There's no such thing as hate speech?
No. Just because I am saying that
we know there's a lot of hateful things that
you
one
can say
about.
something hateful.
Yeah,
yes,
that's hate speech.
But it's not hate speech.
Okay, so let's remove that term. To say things that people think some of the stuff you say is hateful, that it's filled with hate, even though you are only saying it to be the truth. Do you not? Is it? They're not.
Okay. Can you give me an example?
Give me an example, because Nick, like, bro, what do you think is hateful? Tell me what you said that's hateful, and then let's have a conversation about that. And real quickly, Mama Lay wrote, "Why are you a Nick Cannon fan?" Seeing Nick on Nickelodeon, I like Love Don't Cost a Thing. I like the fact that Nick Cannon grew up and was a positive influence, in my opinion, to where you don't have to lean into some gangster persona. You could just be the funny, cool kid. And if a lot of people go back and look at a lot of his background, like his upbringing, he could have leaned into this gangster persona that a lot of people like a Ray J will lean into based on where they come from. So I like the fact that Nick Cannon, and not to say that Ray J did it completely, but whatever. Nick Cannon was a positive example for a lot of us, in my opinion, as far as how he used his celebrity. From the time that he was a young kid, he was cool being the goofy guy. A lot of women used to say he's corny, you know, like cool, corny. Yeah. Corny nowadays is something that I root for. So that's why I like Nick Cannon. Ebony said the truth isn't hateful. And you know what's so funny? A lot of people pick and choose. A lot of people pick and choose. And one of the things that I'm probably going to talk about tomorrow is Ben Shapiro. And he called for Derek Chauvin, the police officer with George Floyd, to be pardoned. And I'm not sure. I got to gather some more information on it. But Ben Shapiro's motto, and the reason why I'm thinking about Ben Shapiro is because Ben Shapiro, that's who or the Daily Wire, who Candace Owens got fired from, that was Ben Shapiro's network. He wasn't the CEO anymore. I forget exactly who it was. I think it's a guy named Jeremy, whatever. But Ben Shapiro, his famous motto is facts don't care about your feelings. But what I realized is that facts don't care about your feelings until it's something that offends you in particular. That's what ends up happening in a lot of this stuff. Everybody wants to stand on facts, stand on truths until it's something that doesn't align with your agenda or until it hurts your feelings. See, it's easy to say facts over feelings when your feelings aren't the ones being hurt. But a lot of times I'm seeing a lot of this energy. It's not consistent. But let's keep going. Hold on. Let me see. And Nick is a very successful businessman. It takes character to achieve all he has. Yeah, I've always been a fan of Nick Cannon. I've always been a fan of him. And Nick Cannon, in the past, he's had a lot of these tough conversations, been willing to have a lot of these tough conversations. Just in this interview, it just doesn't seem like he was prepared or knew what he was getting into. Let's keep going.
Of a truth that is in fact hateful, that we can all agree
There's
upon.
some ugly people on this planet. And if I call somebody ugly, that's hurtful.
It's hurtful.
And therefore hurt, there's hate in that.
Hate and hurt are two different things. We should separate those, right? So
okay, so then let's go to hurtful.
I
yeah,
think,
because no one hates ugly people.
Yeah, I'm not like, oh, I hate this person, like whatever. And I wouldn't go up to a person, by the way, people are attracted to different things. It's at a different time. Yeah,
subjective.
like that, that you could actually say.
Okay, so better example, because there's things that we hate, that we despise, that if we speak on it, it can. That's the thing. It can still hurt someone.
So you're talking about hurt speech. And that's what we should call it.
Maybe that's it.
It's hurt speech.
It's hurt.
So your feelings were hurt when I said that only women can give birth. That's hurt speech. Your feelings were hurt when I said the fat acceptance movement is unacceptable. That's hurt speech,
I
right?
see. So you're not saying it's because you don't.
No, I'm talking about. So I get what Mama Lay's talking about. She said, "How do you guys feel about these kids with all these women?" The reason I asked you, Dak, is because you talk a lot about two-parent households. No, what I'm talking about is that's why I mentioned everything Nick Cannon growing up. Nick Cannon with all the kids, I don't really know what that's about. I don't know what that's about. I hate the fact that the one thing that I hate about it is going back to the example that we talked about with Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade, where we use exceptions and apply that advice from exceptions, people living exceptional lives outside the norm, and applying it to our normal life. Nick Cannon may look at it. I don't like the fact that Nick Cannon's not in his household with his kids. Now we can say that Nick Cannon has enough money to provide for his kids. Provision, to me, like, you have to provide more than just money. There's nothing that's going to replace you being in that actual household with the kids. So that's definitely a critique. But what I was referring to is saying that I've always been a fan of him growing up. I've always been a fan of him. But yeah, I don't agree with the kids. I do not agree with the kids. Definitely don't. I don't know what his meaning is behind it. Don't know. Probably will never know. Don't care. But me just observing it, I don't agree with that at all. And I don't agree with us using Nick Cannon as an example, because what ends up happening now, you probably got a lot of young kids saying like, oh, I could do this. Now, if Nick Cannon was living in the same house with all these women and he had his little village to where he had all his, children's mother and all the children's living in the same house, to each their own, I got no problem with that. Absolutely no problem with that. I may change my mind. You guys may be able to bring up some stuff to change my mind. But if everybody's living in the same house, in the same household, I got no problem with that. That's a village mentality. that's actually been shown to work in a lot of traditional cultures, to where Nick Cannon can have, I mean, if a 2-parent household, what do we always say? It takes a village. So if you got a 5-parent household, I don't know, maybe that's even better than a 2-parent household, but we're not going to get there because, like I said, that's applying an exception to the rule. So let me be very clear. No, 2-parent household. I think that Nick Cannon, all his kids should be living in the same house. That's what I would push for. If I was a kid, whether my dad's Nick Cannon or not, and can buy me whatever he wants, I would want him in the household, and nothing would replace that. It said, okay, I need a clarification because I used to be, but I'm not now. No, Nick Cannon's been doing some questionable stuff over the last, couple years, and that in particular is definitely one of them. But once again, let me say, if he had everybody under the same roof, then teach their own. Let's keep going.
Actually, what you should hate is the lie that's making you think that there's glory in being clinically obese when in fact it's #1 killer in America. That's what you should hate. You should hate the lie. So the truth might hurt. Truth does in fact hurt. And I could have just jumped into Lizzo thing there. But the truth can in fact hurt, but it's not hateful, right? So it's hurt speech. And do I engage in hurt speech?
Yes.
Yes. Do people get their feelings hurt? Yes.
You hurt a lot of people's
But I am not engaging in hate speech because I don't hate a fat person. I want them to be better. I don't hate a person that is suffering from gender dysphoria. I want them to know you are suffering from a mental disorder and I want you to get better.
So what about...
I wish Nick Cannon would say, say exactly whose feelings you can't tell me I hurt a lot of people's feelings, but not tell me whose feelings I'm hurting. Tell me let's talk about it. Whose feelings am I hurting? And then we can have a real discussion around it. But I don't think he's doing that. But let's keep going.
All of the people that say that you're only doing all of this for your own personal gain. So you're operating in hurt that you get to benefit from. So therefore, and the same entities that you despise that are controlling media, that are, making us do demonic and satanic things, you're in that same boat because you're profiting off of hurting others.
Wow. So 2 things I would say. The first thing is we just 10 minutes ago talked about how my whole life got blown up because I said some hurt speech, I guess, about Palestinian children, and people got upset about that because it was a sensitive time. But I continue to say it because it's true. The same can be said for when I was speaking against Black Lives Matter. The money was not in speaking against Black Lives Matter, okay? They were giving money out by the millions and billions for people that would just say the thing. So if I'm trying to make money, I'm really going through a painful process to do it, okay? Because the easier thing for me to be would be a puppet. Like I said, they would have me on the cover of every magazine if I would just say, fat women are beautiful and I don't know, I guess genocide is sometimes okay because people were really upset when I said genocide is always wrong. If I said Black Lives Matter is amazing and everyone should go out and burn down the neighborhoods because justice and we need reparations, they would put me everywhere. Instead, like I said on Power 105, no one would have me on their show for years other than you who extended and we just never were able to make it happen. I was boxed out for that. You don't make money. The easier way to make money, I've made money. The easier way to make money would have been to just go along with culture.
But I'm just talking about...
I'm glad that she called it out like that, because how are you going to say that you getting canceled, but then try to flip it and say, are you just doing it to benefit your own pocket? So I'm glad that she explained it that way.
To make money, I've made money. The easier way to make money would have been to just go along with culture.
But I'm just talking about outside looking in. That again, because I think the point in which I was making is that you have a strong voice, you're very powerful and influential, and you're not sending out pleasantries every day.
Yeah, well,
you're saying something like and it looks like whether it's
who paid
financial, whether it's egotistical, it looks like you're doing it for your. And I'm just kind of. I'm not saying I personally believe this, but
so what are your personal beliefs?
You're doing this for your own personal gain, and you're hurting so many people in the process.
No, I'm.
This is corny what he's doing, bro. I'm not saying that I got a problem with it, but people would say, bro, don't tell me what this other person got a problem with me about. You had a conversation. You tell me what you think about what I'm saying.
Doing it for his gain.
So you're doing this for Jesus.
I'm telling you right now, you gain personally when you get right with God. I'm telling you. So yes, that is correct. I do have personal gain for speaking the truth.
You trying to be in the front of the line in heaven?
I'm telling you, there is, and it's amazing, and people don't realize it's so easy. Like, this book has so much wisdom. Just go read and live the Bible, and your whole world, and the confidence that I think, and which frustrates a lot of people, that it is within me. Genuinely, it's because I'm saying the truth. It's so easy. It's so easy, and yet people have complicated it so much.
So is the goal to get more people to believe what you believe?
No, my goal is for people to recognize that there is objective truth, that there are spiritual forces at play, that there are spiritual forces operating on them every single day, and the only way that they are going to be able to get over that evil, to fight that evil, right, is to recognize that evil is happening, and that evil begins with a lie, okay? A lie. Do not accept lies in your life. You should not accept lies. You should not tell lies. You should not accept lies. You should always pursue the truth. And as an indication, whoever the media hates is likely probably trying to tell you some truth, as a rule.
So what about the people that say Candace Owens is living a lie?
Living a lie how?
Because the things that you believe, they don't believe are true.
You know, of all the things I've ever been accused of, being a liar has not been one of them. In the media, they'll call me a self-hating, but they call me everything. They never call me a liar.
They call you a self-hating black woman?
Yeah, that was as soon as I hit the scene. Self-hating black person. How could you not be supporting BLM? They've called me a black white supremacist. Let me just. I've caught these things like Pokemon balls. I could tell you which level Pokemon I caught. I've been called a self-hating black person. I've been called the first black white supremacist. I've been called a homophobe. You saw Don try to ask me the other night. I've been called a transphobe. I've been called anti-Semitic. I've been called a Holocaust denier.
Why do you think you've been called all these things?
Because there's something I've said that was hurt speech to each person. I don't know. If I
said somebody,
yeah, like, you know, it changes. So it's like when I first got into the media space, so to speak, I was saying a lot of stuff about Black Lives Matter. So that's when I earned my Pokemon ball of being a self-hating black person. As I got a little bit further, everyone was on this like trans stuff, and women came out. I was like, no, they can't. So that's when I earned my transphobe dragon. You know, Don Lemon asked me a question about whether or not I believe he's sinning. I guess I again earned the homophobe Pokemon ball. I went back at Rabbi Shmuley. How dare you have the audacity to go back at a rabbi, because he's filthy. He's a disgusting man. It's not because he's Jewish, it's because of his behavior. And I'm not going to apologize for calling him absolute filth because he's considered a powerful rabbi. Okay? A powerful rabbi is a liar. He is disgusting, and he has a weird relationship and runs a sex shop with his daughter. So I called him what he was, filth. And guess what I got earned for that? Anti-Semitic. Okay, great. Love this new ball. This is great. Throw it into my collection. Did I lie?
So you get to live with a different level of freedom than most because you don't care how you make other people feel.
I just care if what I say is true. If I hurt somebody telling a
yeah, what we are witnessing is why it can be very risky when we convince men to be more feminine. When we have a culture of emasculated men. Look at what's happening in this relationship. All the gossipy questions that Nick Cannon's asking. What did you hurt this? Well, what did you say? Like, listen to what, like, just watch this.
Throw it into my collection. Did I lie?
So you get to live with a different level of freedom than most because
no, I'm good.
You don't care how you make other people feel.
I just care if what I say is true.
You don't care about how you make other people feel. Like, come on, man. Like, come on. Shout out to Steve North, just jumped in. Shout out to Steve. Steve said, if one can't risk saying something that is going to hurt another's feelings, how can we expect to hear how others truly feel about any given subject? All speech restriction does is cause ideas and opinions to go underground where they can't be fully discussed or addressed. And this is what's so funny. It's like a lot of the people that are pushing for free speech only want to push the free speech when it's something that is not offensive or deemed offensive to you. But what about the things that you say that may be offensive? Should I sit here and say, Ben Shapiro, you saying that Derek Chauvin should get a pardon, it's offensive to me. So that you may think that you're just giving free speech. You're saying your opinion, but it may offend certain people. So There's something deeper to all this, man. This is just, and this is what ends up happening when you have so many people that you're able to cancel in certain ways. Then what it does is it makes Candace look like she's being the buck that can't be broken. And meanwhile, Nick Cannon is just over here just asking all these questions and hiding behind the fact of, well, I'm not saying that I think this. I'm just saying you hurt a lot of people. Well, Nick, how do you feel, Nick? How do you feel?
If I hurt somebody telling a lie, I would feel
Really?
badly. Yeah. If I said something that wasn't true, and I would feel badly.
But a lot of your truth is your opinion.
It's not an opinion, what I'm saying. If it was just an opinion, people wouldn't be so upset.
Yeah.
People
See,
have a tricky relationship with the truth. It's
that's
hard.
the gray area, because people can say everything that you believe, that you based your life on, everything that your granddad taught you. This whole doctrine of Christianity is a lie.
And now,
but even if it is her opinion, Ben Shapiro's opinion is that Derek Chauvin should be pardoned. If it offends me, should he not be able to say it? If it offends a lot of black people, should Ben Shapiro not be able to say it? This is what I mean about picking and choosing. Free speech, the whole point of pushing free speech is when somebody's saying something that you do not like, right? Other than that, we wouldn't even have to make it a big thing.
now we are back at, I guess, give me an example of something that I have said in the public sphere that people have reacted to that was a lie, or an opinion, rather.
They react to everything you say.
That's a fact.
like that. I don't think you go viral based off of.
I said pornography was a weapon. People freaked out about that.
Because there's some people that got hurt by that. Because there's some people who really enjoy pornography.
More hurt speech.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you have no problem being hurtful.
It's not hurtful. It's just the truth.
Because that's the opposite.
Men are struggling with pornography, and it's not their fault. People understood and studied how men would react when being stimulated by naked images all the time. They brought them into that, and then they made what they think about how to make what they are watching more and more deranged and more perverse. And so they are the taste makers, and they are making men more deranged. I'm not saying women don't watch porn as well, but I'm saying that men have a different biological response to it than women, because men and women are different. Sorry, guys. More hurt speech. But yeah, I mean, I tell the truth, and if I get something wrong, I'll always go back and correct it and say, I researched this, and this actually wasn't accurate at the time that I said it. But I'm committed to telling the truth, and I understand that upsets some people. It upsets me that you live your life according to lies,
You're strong. You're a strong voice out there.
What is it about me that upsets people so much? I can't figure it out. What did I do?
I could tell. I mean, you don't lead with compassion.
No, I'm not a
that's
buck.
gonna
I'm
make
not a buck
people
that can be broken.
Yeah, you make people feel bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm feeling bad in this room.
You know what's so funny? A lot of the people that voted for Trump, you don't care if Trump doesn't lead with compassion. And I'm telling you, as somebody who voted for Trump, a lot of people who voted for Trump, I didn't hear all of this stuff where it's like, oh, he doesn't have compassion. A lot of people who didn't vote for Trump didn't vote for him for this exact reason. But what I don't understand is there's a lot of people who are pro-Trump who voted for Trump, but then have a problem with Candace and others not having compassion. But you voted for a president that doesn't have compassion in a lot of things. Just says it as it is. And we appreciate him for just telling the truth the way that he tells the truth. Hey, he just says it exactly. I appreciate him for that. I don't need all this sugarcoating stuff. No. Tell me exactly what it is. Let me know exactly how you feel. Whether I like it or not, that's up to me. But at least I know that it's a real thing, and I can judge and I can make my judgment based on you being real.
Not anybody in this room. I'm talking about, but
they're hearing my hurt speech.
If you're hurting people with what you say, and then
Yeah, I
you're
mean, I get it.
unapologetic
I guess it's
about
sort
it.
of like sitting down your child and telling them Santa's not real.
That would hurt.
It would hurt.
She's lying.
It would
Santa
no.
is real.
It
if
would.
my kids
It
are
would
watching.
super hurt. But at what point do you have to have that conversation? Like, you're going to be 35 years old and thinking the fat man brought down the chimney. You know, we're not dealing with children. We're dealing with adults. I can pretend and make believe with kids. I just won't do it with adults because, like I said, I'm not your mommy.
Very strong words. Very, very strong take. In moving to politics or back to politics for a moment, and even the sense that I've heard that, you know, they would say Trump would definitely win the White House if he had you as his running mate. have you heard that?
Oh, remember, this was recorded before.
Yes, I have heard people say that. I'm not interested. I actually hate politics.
Really?
Yeah, because people lie.
So if Trump
all the
called you
time.
tomorrow, like, yo, I need you on the ticket.
He just announced J.D. Vance as his VP right before, a couple hours before. But I'm definitively not. No, I would not have accepted that. I wasn't offered it, nor would I have accepted it because I have really young children and the years go by fast.
So you're not trying to be political in an office ever?
You know, I never say never because man makes plans and God laughs. But I would say that right now my focus is being as close to home as possible. And I love what I do. I love being able to impact culture, you know, by simply telling the truth. It's such an easy thing to be able to be so hated and lied
about. The fact
about.
that you just have no problem with it is fascinating.
It's freedom. It's freedom.
I'm gonna be honest. You stronger than me because when people were attempting to cancel me, I've been canceled on every side too. I've said some things that have hurt a lot of people, and I don't like hurting people. So it bothered me. It wasn't even if it was the truth, I wanted them to understand this was my intentions for saying this, or I didn't say this to be hurtful. Forgive me if I was wrong or my rhetoric was incorrect in how I presented it, because
Yeah, you know what ends up happening? I gotta be real, man. This is what ends up happening, man. You'll tell somebody directly, you got to lose weight. It's unhealthy. It doesn't look good. You look bad, whatever people say. And because they don't want to acknowledge and accept that what you're saying is real, they don't even want to address. Matter of fact, they don't even want to process whether or not what you're saying is real, because in their minds, they in this situation, they know it. So instead, they'll start to make the conversation about how what you said made them feel and how you said it and how. That's what ends up happening. So we'll sit here and have a conversation about how somebody said it, and then we'll avoid actually having the real conversation. And because when you have the real conversation, it brings about a certain level of accountability that a lot of people are not willing to take.
Never, if I hit somebody with a rock that I didn't intend to hit, I gotta apologize for hitting with that rock. So I'm not, again, like I said, you're different than me. Like, to me, I don't want to hurt people, even if it's with the truth.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't describe it.
Why would he say that? You're different from me. I don't want to hurt people. Like, damn, Nick. Oh, man. Man. Is the influence that strong?
As hitting someone with a rock, right? I would say that truth is a foundation.
Rocks hurt.
And if you are building your life upon without the foundation of truth, you're going to fall eventually. So I'm just trying to help you with that first step, right? And so if you can't acknowledge truth, like I said, I'm not your problem in life. That's why you're freaking out on me, is because you know I'm hitting stuff and you're freaking out, because deep down, it's not like Candace saying only women can give birth. It's because you can lie to the entire world. You can have the entire world lie to you, but you know you have that second before you go to bed. And you're just like, this is all a farce. And I'm speaking here just because we've been on that topic of trans. Like, this is dress up. This is make believe. This is Halloween, right? So
this reminds me of when the Democrats are asked, "What is a woman?" They've asked multiple, like Democrats, like even judges, and like they asked these people, well, what is a woman? Matt Walsh did a documentary, I believe, on it. And people will not say what's a woman not because they don't know what a woman is, but because they're so scared to offend a particular group that aligns with them in a particular way. So then it can become a lie. It can become a whole bunch of things because people aren't just willing to just say what the truth is, because people have deemed that particular truth as being hateful, and they'll take away opportunities from you if you say these hateful things. Like if you can't, a lot of these Democratic politicians, the famous one is one with like Mark Lamont Hill. And he's not, I wouldn't say he's a politician, but let me take it off of Mark Lamont Hill. But there was a popular one with him where it's just like, what is a woman? It's like, you can't describe what a woman is. Like that just goes to show you how much of an influence a lot of these groups have on people, to where they can't answer a question that a 5 and 6 year old would be able to answer. I say it all the time. When intelligent people do things that don't make sense and that are completely irrational, that's when we kind of got to take a step back and say, like, what's really going on here?
So I'm just trying to help you get past that so that you can have a life with real meaning and real purpose and not be treated like a toddler by society. I have faith in people that you don't need to be treated like a toddler.
Who are you to believe that you have that right to tell me how to live my life?
Listen, I didn't assert it as my right. The people are coming to me upset. People are asking me questions and I'm giving the answers.
Because you're a strong voice in the community.
But what do you mean? I do my show, I say what I want to say, and then people go crazy, right? Like I said, I'm not showing up to their space and running up to them at Walmart. So the truth is, it's because I'm hitting a chord that is already there inside of them. They know they're living a lie. They know they're living a lie when they get up there and the fat acceptance and I'm happy and I'm fat. No, you're not. It's hard for you to get up the stairs. I've been 9 months pregnant before. Okay. Everything is harder. Okay. Everything is harder. It's less comfortable when you sleep. Half these people have to wear a breathing mask. You're not happy. You for a moment, you got that momentary happy when the world lied to you and said that, fat acceptance and fat is healthy, and you found a tribe of people that were willing to lie to you. I'm not that tribe. I'm not the tribe of liars, but I want your life to be better. So I don't care. Tons of people that are overweight watch my show. And I talk about, give them personal stories about things that people go through, people in my family. Like, you fall off the horse, you want to get back on. And people that want their life to be better say, I needed to hear this today because I know that it is hard to get started. And like that first time you go to the gym after you've been off for a while is hard, but they need somebody to say that to them.
So ultimately, you're just a motivational speaker.
I am just a motivational speaker. And they call it hurt speech.
So, okay, we'll go here as we wrap it up. Advice. What are you an expert on that you can give advice to?
Before she answers, let me catch up with the comments real quick. Ebony said, I'm canceled in my family. They don't like the straightforward, unsugar-coated truths. Scared for his life. He got all them kids, need them checks to keep flowing. Shy says, simp. Ab said, a woman is a female human just like they know a doe is a female deer. All right, let's keep it going.
I have a lot of advice that I give. I do think the first thing is that you need to surround yourself with people that will tell you the truth. That is the first thing. You cannot get ahead in life surrounding yourself with yes men. It doesn't work that way. Eventually a house of cards will fall down. The second thing that I would say is get out of textbooks and start learning real history. And I would start with the history of your government as the first step. Start with declassified CIA documents because it will help you understand things better. And it will give you a healthier relationship with the media. If you are agreeing with the media, find yourself going, yeah, something's wrong. And I think the last thing, and the most important thing that I would say is we are in the midst of a war that has been going on. The spiritual battle has been going on since the dawn of humanity. It is a battle. It's not Trump they want. It's always been Christ. And the further you get into history, learn about why the Bible disappeared from classrooms, learn about what Tucker Carlson was talking about why it is that post-World War II, suddenly nobody had faith in the West. and you will realize that that is by design. And so the only weapon that you can fashion against that is the Bible. Like you need to be compelled by faith, because otherwise you're bringing a figurative sword to a gunfight.
Does Candace Owens have any insecurities?
You know what? I shared one with you offline, and I always get nervous about potentially ever having food in my teeth when I do an interview.
That's the only thing that you're insecure about?
So I check my teeth before every interview. But
have you always had this level of confidence?
Yes. I was a really annoying kid for my parents growing up. They say that. They say that I had they had to when I was a kid, close the door and laugh, because I would just be saying to them, Mommy, that doesn't make sense. 3 years old. That doesn't make sense, Mommy. Daddy, that doesn't make sense. And so I was always questioning
everything.
Arbitrary authority. I needed to, you can explain it to me, but you can't just do the whole, because I said so. That never worked with me. I think I was probably precocious when I was a kid. And I always had the confidence to be myself. So I was never going with the crowd,
Taurus gang, man. Y'all know what it is. I swear, if my mom and dad are listening, they probably laughing too. Maybe not. But y'all know I'm always asking. That doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem fair. That's how I was as a kid. That doesn't, based on what you said 2 years ago or what you said 2 weeks ago, that's not consistent, my dad. That doesn't seem fair. I respect it. Steve said if she was talking nonsense that didn't resonate with millions of people, she would have no audience or staying power. I agree. Let's keep going.
Does Candace Owens struggle with mental health ever?
No.
You've never had any struggles with mental health?
Well, not never. I mean, I was a teenage girl once. Oh. You know what I mean? Make it out of being a teenage girl.
Without as much pressure that you're faced with every day. Mm-hmm. And even I can't even see how you do just the postpartum of it all, of I feel like you just dropped 3 kids and kept moving. You never missed a beat.
I don't believe in the diagnosis of it. I have moments. And I think, I can think of one moment where I physically remember being in the shower and just being like, please God, I just need a break right now. And it was when the whole stuff was going on with Kanye and the White Lives Matter shirts, because I was postpartum. Mm-hmm. And it was all just kind of happening at once. I had just gotten back to work, and my schedule was 5 days a week. And then we wore the White Lives Matter shirt. And then right after, Kanye kind of went on his tour speaking about Jewish power. And so they were necessarily putting pressure on me to speak out against him. And I didn't do it because I'm not a buck that can be broken, and I don't let the media determine how I deal with my friends. Mm-hmm. But it was also, women that have kids know this, you go through this period of postpartum shedding where all your hair falls out. And it was the pressure of all of that happening, feeling like there was going to be a whole threat to my whole life because I was refusing to be broken in this way. And then I just remember standing in the shower and I had the postpartum shed. Yeah. And I just remember holding my hair, just being like, I just can't take anymore. I just need a break.
Really?
And yeah.
So how'd you get better?
You always go through it. Don't think of it as a diagnosis. It's a moment. And, you're a human. That's another thing. They always try to diagnose everything. It's they're trying to diagnose sadness now. Right. You need a pill. Are you sad? That's a human emotion, guys. Yeah. You go.
Yeah. We want to diagnose what Candace is going through and what other people, right? But we never want to diagnose somebody being born a man and thinking that they're a woman. But we want to diagnose everything else. We want to throw narcissist, depression, anxiety. We want to diagnose everything. Everything. Somebody waking up just not feeling happy about going to work. You're depressed. You're this. You're that. We have no problem putting blanket diagnoses, whatever the plural is, on these people. But somebody can go to school and think they're a fairy, or think they're a kitty cat, or think they're Daniel thinks that he's Danielle. But we never want to you can't even question the fact that it may be mental health. Listen to what Nick Cannon said earlier in the show. Oh, well, they actually believe that. They actually believe that. Well, yeah, that may actually be the mental health aspect of it, right? But we're never even allowed to bring that up as a question, right? We're never even allowed to question it. All right, cool.
Through periods of sadness and happiness and elation and frustration, and they're now trying to make you think there's something wrong with you if you don't feel this way
April
the whole time.
29th.
You're tired. Sometimes you just wake up and I don't know, maybe your iron's off and you're like, I just feel a little sad today, you know. But that's normal.
It's a chemical imbalance.
Yeah, like they're like, you need a pill, and then it's just crazy. Just you allow yourself to be a human being. Give yourself a break. Yeah, but I'm lucky right now because I have 3 kids. They're hilarious. They're at the age now where they're just so funny. Like they're they're in the age where they're starting to try to reason, but everything they're saying is actually really quite silly.
Right.
But they think they know stuff, and they're experimenting with words they hear. Like I have a 1-year-old daughter, and she'll just wake up and say, like, you know, don't talk to me like that, mommy. And like they're just they just give you joy. You can't even be mad when you're surrounded by kids, you know.
Trust me, I know. That's why
Exactly. You
that's why
know
I have
more.
so many.
You know more than anybody. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that again, that's biblical. Trying to push people away from family, but family is the answer, is the security. No matter what kind of a day you have, I know that when your kid sees you and they think you're the whole world.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Kid runs the same mommy and
Yeah,
daddy
it's
is.
just like, all right, don't care.
Yeah.
You gotta sell those
we've
drugs.
Clearly, you've said so many things in all of our sessions. And we know you to be fearless. What is Candace Owens scared of?
It's food in my teeth.
That's an insecurity. What are you scared? You got to be scared.
I mean,
because even like, and we'll get back serious for a second because I know you even talked about this on your shows. Like people were like, "Aren't you scared for your life because you're so outspoken?" You're like, "Absolutely not." But there has to be something that scares you.
I mean, when you say scared, of course, I'm going to be a mama bear. Like, but my fears are now my children. I'm an extension of my children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are, I'm now selfless because I have something way more important than me in this world, which are my children. And the only thing, I guess, since right now I'm in such a, once you have your family unit intact, it's weird. Like you just get like wings, you know? It's like, it's not Red Bull that gives you wings. It's like a stable family gives you wings. And because I am in such a stable, committed, faithful relationship and I have such wonderful children, I don't feel threatened every day. In fact, I feel secure. That is where my security comes from. It's real security. All the things that they're telling you not to go for. Feminism, you can do bad all by yourself. And, you know, why would you want a kid? The planet's going to be over. Climate change. I'm telling you, man, you're just saying no to the things that give you the most courage in life. And that is really when it locked in for me, I think. Like marriage and children is when I've only become more secure over time.
Do you get fearful within your relationship, within your marriage?
No. That's where I just plug in. Like that's my source. You know what I mean? I have a better half, and he has made me. I mean, it's so much.
I don't know what type of individual this is. Who's
He's incredibly faithful.
Candace Owens. You got to be a strong guy.
What are your
Very
fears,
smart,
Nick?
just like intellectual sparring at all times.
How'd you guys meet?
We met. I was in London giving a speech, and he attended a dinner the next night, and it was instant. We got engaged 18 days later.
Wow.
From the time we laid eyes.
Wow.
And now we were married 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There's one thing you could change about yourself.
Like a thing that happened or a quality?
Let's go with quality.
Gosh. I always try to work on myself. Okay, I would like to make prayer more of a habit. Like I'm very good at praying on Sundays and praying before meals, but my husband makes like an effort every morning to like pray like I pray on Sundays. So I think my prayer habit would be something that I would change.
Why just on Sundays?
Well, that's what
what made you say Sunday is the day that I'm gonna pray?
Well, because I'm at mass.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have
So you don't talk to God when you wake up in the morning?
No, but like before every meal, but like I think that if I could change anything, it would be that I wish that I had realized the Bible was the answer to everything earlier. And I want to be more committed because I have the platform and I don't have like the wealth of knowledge that my husband has theologically speaking. And I think that would be what I would want to, if I could wave a magic wand and change things, it would probably be, I think now I view it as like a character flaw, like not being as well versed as my husband and like he can just like scripture of the back of his head. And
we're going to increase Candace Owens' prayer life. We're going to get you a prayer group. There's going to be people that's going to be praying for you. They be called. Let's pray. Like literally, my grandmother, 104 years old, lives in North Carolina. They got a prayer line.
I know, I love that.
And they literally be, we going to pray. We praying for this person
I love
today.
that. Tell her to put me in the prayer.
They're going to put you, Corinne Cannon going to put you in the prayer group. She's going to make it happen. Last question in this session, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, and one more character flaw, actually. This is a big one.
Yes.
I have to, and I have gotten a lot better because I made a conscious thing last year, but forgiveness, I think, is something that I struggle with.
Okay.
Yeah, I can be pretty cutthroat, and that would be the thing that my cousin would say, who's here somewhere.
So you one of them people that's just like, if you did something, there ain't no coming back.
I just don't want to deal with it. You know, like, and I can be very...
What's your sign?
Taurus.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, can you tell?
My mama's a Taurus.
So
that's exactly...
That is what I'm working on right now. I'm working on trying to give people a path back into my life, and I have done
Taurus don't forgive for shit.
I struggle with it. I do struggle with it. But I've made huge strides because I consciously said that at the beginning of last year in January. I was like, what is my New Year's resolution? And I said, I want to stop being that person that when somebody wrongs me, just be like, don't want to deal with you ever again. Like, that's not healthy.
This is your last day on the planet. What are you arguing about? What's your last argument?
I don't argue in real life.
I don't. That's all you do is argue.
What am I arguing about?
The last message that Candace Owens has to get out there. This is your last day on the planet. You already did what you're supposed to. Your kids love you. They love your husband. Everybody's straight. But you got one last show, one last post. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm saying to the world.
If you do not have free speech and you believe in the lie of hate speech so much that you will allow them to take away your free speech, you are watching the beginning of the end of your civilization.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another impactful and intense and empowering session of Council Culture with Candace Owens. Thank you.
Dope. Tauruses are forgiving. We're loving, passionate people. Yo, we're not going to start bashing Tauruses. Just they in here trying to bash Tauruses. They're in here trying to bash Tauruses on the show. Just they, man. Just a lot of Maya talking. Nah, we not gonna bash Tauruses. That's what we not gonna do. Nah, let me stop. But appreciate y'all tapping in as long as y'all did. Steve, man, I need to make sure that I connect with you. I believe you're tapping in from LinkedIn, so I'm gonna make sure that I check you out on LinkedIn. All right, so y'all love Tauruses. I know y'all love Tauruses. That's not a bash. That's the truth. Eb just made it clear. Yeah, but we got to talk to your Taurus sister. We can't have her not opening up and not talking to you is crazy just because you talk ish about Democrats. That's wild. So we can be stubborn at times. So let's definitely actually my goddaughter is and my bestie. All right, yeah. But yeah, let's do our 45 seconds because it is Sunday. Y'all know on Sunday and Monday we set the intentions to make this our greatest week ever. And in order to do so, we need to make sure that we I guess it's going to be different for everybody, but that I don't know, for me to have this be the greatest week ever for me, I have to make sure that I'm seeing the world through a very opportunistic lens. And I don't mean opportunistic in a bad way, but just seeing the opportunity, seeing the positive aspects and everything that helps me. So we're going to take 45 seconds. Yeah, I've been loving you a long time, Dak. It's appreciated. All the love is appreciated. Steve said I'm going to start a show called Cancer Culture. Yeah, that's actually maybe a good one. Maybe we can do that together, Steve. But no, appreciate y'all. But let's take 45 seconds for all the people that don't tap in on the regular. We always finish off with 45 seconds to clear our mind, meditate, manifest. Matter of fact, hold up. Let me get my. Ooh, hopefully I got the fan going over here. Let me get my little. We gotta have to set the vibe, set the intentions. Let me turn this fan off because last time it blew all of the ashes everywhere. But we're going to take 45 seconds. If you're in a safe place, close your eyes, meditate, get your breath working. Y'all know what we say. Every breath out is releasing all the negative energy, getting all that negative, anything that's getting in the way of us accomplishing our goals and having the right mindset to accomplish our goals. We're going to make sure that we release those. And every inhale is inhaling the positive energy, the positive traits, characteristics, everything that we need, and that's going to help us get to our desired end result. And Maya said, Taurus are very principled people. Hey, I will not argue with that. It's on principle. Sometimes I cannot let something go. It's just the principality. All right, so 45 seconds. Let me open up this door because I don't think you're supposed to light this without the door being open. Hold on one second. It's hard to open the door with the blind down. All right, so 45 seconds. Once again, if you're in a safe place, close your eyes. Let's breathe. Let's have a breathing session with the gods, man. Let's invite the gods. Let's invite some goddess energy in, and let's just put ourselves in the best mindset to get an amazing night's rest, to have some beautiful dreams, and to wake up seeing the positive in everything. So 45 seconds starting now. All right, one more breath out. We start with the breath out. Release all that negative energy. Inhale everything positive. Inhale everything positive. Y'all know what it is, what we're here to do. Elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint as well as raising our standards. Raising our standards is how we're going to become the leaders that our community, our village, our tribe, our society needs now more than ever. And raising our standards is going to allow us to grow and develop. It's going to force us to grow and develop into the people that we need to in order to accomplish those outlandish, arrogant, in certain ways, audacious goals that we believe that we can, not even believe that we can accomplish. We know that we can accomplish, but we also know that we have to keep growing in order to accomplish those goals. So with that, strength and honor, onward and upward. Y'all know what I say at the end of every show. Get to that bag. And I'm not talking about just money. Maybe it is money. It's going to be different for everybody. But when I say get to that bag, that means all the things that you need to collect along the way throughout the week, the little steps that are going to make sure that you're on the right trajectory in order to live in your purpose and accomplish what we strive for, purposeful abundance. So with that, I'll see y'all soon. Love y'all. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And I'll see y'all tomorrow a.m. at, oh man, I should have saved some of this for tomorrow's show. I'll see y'all at 8 a.m., man. We got the wake up tomorrow, 8 a.m. Tap in, like on your way out, share the video with some friends and family, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And on that note, I shall see y'all soon.